Chapter 866. Wang Lin carefully looked at the Thunder Lake Square before withdrawing his gaze. Under the guidance of the old man, they walked straight until they reached the eastern part of the Thunder Celestial Temple. From afar, Wang Lin saw a palace that was several times larger than the other palaces. It was like a giant beast lying on the ground, and before it even got close, it gave off a powerful pressure. Several kilometers away from the palace, the old man stopped and smiled. "Fellow cultivator Su, the temple lord only summoned you, so I can't accompany you any longer. You can go in by yourself." Wang Lin's gaze fell on the palace several kilometers away. He clasped his hands at the old man and said, "Thank you, senior, for leading the way." "How is the old man some kind of senior?" "For fellow cultivator Su to be summoned by the temple lord, you must not be an ordinary person in the future. When the time comes, I must get to know you better." The old man shook his head. He clasped his hands at Wang Lin and left. Wang Lin carefully spread out his divine sense and flew forward. He gradually got closer and closer to the palace. When he got close, Wang Lin immediately saw a person standing outside the palace. This person's back was toward him, but as he stood there, he was like a mountain. Master Flames Park. Wang Lin wasn't surprised. He landed and clasped his hand. "Greetings, Senior Master Flames Park. Should I call you Master Demon Su Mu or Wang Lin from the Alliance Star System?" Master Flames Park turned around with a calm expression. When his gaze fell on Wang Lin, he revealed a hint of surprise. "Nirvana Scryer? Not bad at all." Wang Lin's expression remained the same. He didn't panic at all when his identity was exposed and calmly said, "Whether it is Su Mu or Wang Lin, since Senior called me here, I presume it wasn't to find out Junior's real name." Master Flamespark looked at Wang Lin and revealed a smile. There was a flash of admiration in his eyes and he smiled. "Good, you are indeed worthy of being the old man's fated person. I don't care if you are Wang Lin or Su Mu. I ask you, are you willing to participate in the battle between the Alliance Star System?" Wang Lin pondered a bit and slowly said, "Junior's strength is meager. Even if I participate, I won't be able to do much." "A Nirvana Scryer cultivator dares to say his power is weak?" Master Flamespark smiled, but there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Wang Lin pondered a bit and nodded. "Since Senior Flamespark thinks so highly of me, then I'll participate in this battle." Wang Lin had already thought about all of this before he came here. In order to compete for the 108 celestial titles, he would have to participate in the battle between the Luo Tian and the Alliance. "Good. Take the token the old man gave you back then. Perhaps it will be of great use to you in the future. It can also be considered giving you the fortune you promised." Master Flamespark waved his sleeves and a gust of wind formed a vortex before Wang Lin. There was a flash of thunder inside the vortex, and it formed a transfer array. "Use this transfer array to leave. In 3 days, the old man and a few fellow cultivators will personally go watch the celestial title competition. Your senior brother Shimizu will also go." After Master Flamespark finished speaking, he turned around and walked toward the hall. Wang Lin looked at Master Flamespark and calmly said, "Senior Flamespark, can Junior return the Thunder Beast? Once the passage is opened, I'll naturally return it to you." Master Flamespark walked into the hall and disappeared. Wang Lin pondered a bit before he stepped into the transfer array. When he reappeared, he was in the outer hall of the Thunder Celestial Temple, next to the 4 transfer arrays. There was no one around. It was obvious they had all been taken care of. The moment Wang Lin appeared, he immediately turned around and saw a woman standing behind him. She was extremely beautiful, like a jade statue. She was wearing a green dress. "Is Senior Su Mu?" The woman's voice was clear and very pleasant to listen to. Wang Lin nodded. "Junior is Chen Shan. I was ordered by the messenger to wait for Senior here. This is Senior's token for the celestial title competition. As for Senior's residence, the token has the details. Chun Shan's expression was respectful as she took out a palm-sized token and handed it to Wang Lin. After hesitating for a bit, her eyes turned red and she softly said, "In the next few days, if Senior needs a cultivation furnace, you can send a message to Junior through this token. The Thunder Celestial Temple will provide all the necessary help to all the participants." After the woman finished speaking, her face became even redder and she bowed and retreated. Her figure was faint, and when she left, it revealed the charm under her dress. Wang Lin held the token and scanned it with his divine sense. It was like a piece of jade with a simple map of the Thunder Celestial Temple and a transfer array that hadn't been opened yet. After finding his residence, Wang Lin charged toward it. 3 days of time passed in the blink of an eye. During these 3 days, Wang Lin cultivated with his eyes closed to keep his cultivation level at its peak. At noon on the 3rd day, the entire Thunder Celestial Temple was extremely lively. The transfer arrays kept flashing and groups of cultivators arrived. There were a lot of spectators this celestial title ceremony. First of all were the cultivation families from the 4 main planets. These people were only allowed to watch from the outside. Then came the cultivation families from the Luo Tian star system. Although they were second to the Yao family, they were higher than the main planets, such as the Shengong family and the Zhan family. Then came the 4 cultivation families with inheritances from the celestial realm. The last ones to appear were the members of the 2 ancient cultivation families that were going to hold the celestial title competition with the Thunder Celestial Temple. Although there weren't a lot of cultivators watching the celestial title competition, there were still tens of thousands of them. Under the arrangement of the Thunder Celestial Temple, floating platforms were built around the Thunder Celestial Temple so that the cultivators could sit. The battlefield for the celestial title competition was set in the Thunder Celestial Temple's 10,000 feet square. Outside the square, there were more than 10 white jade mats that gave off celestial spiritual energy. At this moment, Master Flamespark was sitting on one of the mats. Beside him was Celestial Lord Shimizu, who was cultivating with his eyes closed. It was as if he had no interest in what was happening before him. As more and more cultivators watched the battle, the Xiang family's ancestor appeared in the air. He clasped his hands at Master Flamespark and sat down on the praying mat. As the 2 of them conversed, the black-robed man with the surname Gongsun also appeared and sat to the side. Shortly after, people from the Yao family and the other 3 cultivation families with inheritances from the celestial realm arrived. The person from the Yao family was Blood God. He and the old monsters from the other 3 families arrived and sat down on the mat. They didn't even look at Shimizu. When the Shengong family and the Zhan family arrived, the Shengong family ancestor and Li Yunzi also arrived and sat down on the mat. It didn't take long for the ancestors of other cultivation families to arrive and sit down on the mat. Noon had arrived. Master Flamespark's eyes lit up and he calmly said, "The battle for the title of Luo Tian's 108 celestial titles begin." His voice turned into countless thunderous roars that spread across the Thunder Celestial Temple. As his voice echoed, countless transfer arrays appeared in the sky. These transfer arrays were all the same size, and when hundreds of them appeared at the same time, cultivators appeared one by one. Wang Lin was among them. Blood God raised his head and looked at Wang Lin with a gloomy and demonic gaze. He let out a cold snort and withdrew his gaze. His expression was gloomy. Aside from Blood God, there was another gaze from the crowd that fell on Wang Lin. Shi Zifeng bit her lower lip and silently looked at Wang Lin in the sky. She let out a sigh and there was a trace of confusion in her eyes. Ever since she returned from the Thunder Celestial Realm, Wang Lin's figure had always been in her heart. She couldn't get rid of it. When she heard that Wang Lin was being hunted by the Yao family, her heart trembled, but she couldn't help him. She had no mood to cultivate. When she found out that Wang Lin had escaped, she was extremely happy. However, behind this joy was a powerful sense of bitterness. "I'm afraid he has even forgotten my name," Shi Zifeng was very beautiful, and she knew this very well. Many geniuses from cultivation families had expressed their love for her. Even her most outstanding cousin, Shi Zimo, admired her. However, she was extremely indifferent to all of this before. Dual cultivation had never even crossed her mind. Her dream was to become a heaven-defying female cultivator like the ancestor of her family. However, all of this changed after she met Wang Lin. Even she was a bit confused. However, the shock she felt when he charged into the Thunder Celestial Temple with hundreds of cultivators and shouted, "Make way," wouldn't dissipate no matter what. Originally, Shi Zifeng thought that with the passing of time, she would be able to forget all of this. However, when they met today, she bit her lower lip so hard that it bled. She did not even notice it. She only stared blankly at the figure in the sky that she wanted to be familiar with, but was unfamiliar to her. Not far from Shi Zifeng sat an old woman. This old woman obviously wasn't qualified to sit on the praying mat, but her identity was the ancestor of the Shi family. She frowned as she looked at Shi Zifeng and let out a sigh. An ill-fated relationship. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he floated in the air. He looked at most of the cultivators in the All-Heaven star system, especially the people sitting on the praying mat. Every single one of them was no weaker than the blood ancestor, and some of them were far stronger than the blood ancestor. When all 325 transfer arrays appeared in the sky, all the competitors revealed themselves. Master Flamespark's expression was calm as he slowly said, "This celestial title competition is divided into 3 trials, 6 paths, and 1 line to the heavens. The 3 trials of heaven, earth, and human will test one's cultivation. Mysterious 6 paths, reincarnation to refine Tao intent. After 3 trials and 6 paths, 108 people will be chosen to enter life and death slaughter, 1 line to the heavens. The 36 people with the most kills will be given the title of Heavenly Star. They will be given the chance to leave their names on the celestial title stone." After he spoke, a huge wave was set off in the Thunder Celestial Temple. Even the people on the praying mats around Master Flamespark were moved. Their gazes were like lightning as they stared at Master Flamespark. Even the Xiang family ancestor and the man in black were startled and looked at Master Flamespark. Even Celestial Lord Shimizu opened his eyes. His eyes revealed a powerful, cold gaze and he said, "Is it the celestial title stone that the ancient celestial realm left in the Thunder Celestial Realm? Give me a few dozen votes and let me enjoy being in the top 3. Chapter 867. Master Flamespark's voice was calm as he slowly said, "It is this stone." The old man named Xiang's expression was gloomy as he said, "Rumor has it that this stone was left behind by the ancient celestial realm. Anyone who can leave their name on it can penetrate the void and enter the ancient celestial realm. I didn't expect the celestial bestowment stone to be here at the Thunder Celestial Temple." The old man named Xiang's expression was slightly cold as he spoke. The middle-aged man named Gongsun calmly said, "Although the ancient celestial realm has disappeared, there is a rumor that countless years from now, the ancient celestial realm will open once more. This time, only those who left their names on the celestial bestowment stone will be brought inside. Although this is only a rumor, it is the only clue left behind by the ancient celestial realm." The middle-aged man with the surname Gongsun said calmly. The surroundings were silent. Aside from a few people, almost no one knew what the celestial bestowment stone was. However, from what the old man named Xiang and company said, they immediately understood how important it was. However, there were still many cultivators who didn't understand what the celestial bestowment stone was. They all looked at the ancestors of their families. Master Flamespark calmly said, "The celestial bestowment stone shattered into countless pieces when the Thunder Celestial Realm collapsed. My Thunder Celestial Temple didn't obtain it, so there is no need to dwell on this matter. It was that senior who found the old man after collecting the moon beast and gave him a palm-sized celestial bestowment stone." After he spoke, All the old monsters on the praying mats became silent and no longer asked about this matter. There are 3 trials to enter the heavens and earth. The first trial is the trial to enter. If you can last for 10 breaths of time, you will pass. Russell, enter the Thunder Lake. As Master Flamespark's voice echoed, a ray of green light came from the distance. The green light turned into a figure before Master Flamespark and company. It was a middle-aged man wearing a green robe. This person clasped his hands at everyone and said, "This is the order of the Temple Master." As he spoke, he took a step and landed on the square. He stood on the square with his hands behind his back. His expression was calm, but there was a hint of pride in it. His appearance immediately caught the attention of the surrounding cultivators. Some of them naturally knew Russell's identity, and they began to talk. Thunder Celestial Temples Russell. Rumor has it that he reached the mid-stage of Nirvana Scryer 300 years ago and has been in closed-door cultivation for the past 300 years. I didn't expect him to be the guardian of this trial. This Luo So is not simple, especially the transformations of his consciousness. It is said that even some famous old monsters have praised him. Discussions filled the air. Luo Su raised his head and looked at the younger cultivators in the hundreds of teleportation arrays in the sky. His expression was calm as he said, "In my eyes, none of you are qualified to become one of the 108 immortals. That's because killing you is as easy as crushing ants. Now, follow my instructions. Whoever I point at, get down here." After Luo Su spoke, most of the cultivators in the teleportation formation stared at Luo Su with gloomy expressions. Su Ting's eyes flashed red, but he didn't speak. Luo Su didn't waste time. His right hand casually pointed at a cultivator from the northern Luo Tian domain. When the cultivator was pointed out, he hesitated for a moment. However, it was in that moment that Russell let out a cold snort and made a grasping motion with his right hand. Immediately, a huge hand appeared, bringing with it a howling gust of wind. As it swept through the area, the surrounding cultivators could feel the gust of wind blowing against their faces. The giant hand was as fast as lightning. In an instant, it grabbed the cultivator and mercilessly threw him to the side. The cultivator's face immediately turned pale. He was only at the illusory stage, so when the giant hand grabbed him, his body immediately turned cold. It was as if all his origin energy had been frozen. After he landed, he didn't hesitate to sit down. Luo Su's eyes were filled with impatience. He didn't care about this celestial title at all. If it wasn't for the fact that the Temple Master had asked him to take charge of the first trial, he wouldn't have been able to refuse. He would have gone back to closed-door cultivation to reach the late stage of Nirvana Scryer. In addition, there was another reason that made him agree to be the guard of the first trial. After capturing the cultivator, the impatience in his eyes became even stronger. He directly spread out his divine sense, and the world around him immediately changed. Luo So's divine sense was extremely mysterious. It could actually transform inside his body. When it spread out, it immediately turned into a golden-armored giant. As it stepped in the air, loud rumbles echoed. After the giant appeared, he didn't stop. Thunderous rumbles echoed as he walked toward the cultivator sitting on the ground. He was extremely fast, and it only took him 3 steps to close in. The golden-armored giant even raised his right fist and threw a punch. This punch was still on the way when the cultivator's face turned pale and his eyes were filled with terror. His clothes were blown back like a gust of wind and his hair fluttered in the wind. Wang Lin's eyes were like a torch as he stared at all of this. The moment the golden-armored giant's fist landed, the cultivator's body trembled, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. His body flickered and his origin soul was forced out of his body. His origin soul was thrown out of his body and he quickly retreated with terror. With a cold snort, the giant man withdrew his fist and retreated a few steps. He stood motionlessly beside Luo Su. "Trash, with your cultivation level and willpower, You are not qualified to compete in the celestial title battle. You are not qualified. The impatience in Luo Su's eyes became even stronger. He felt that testing this person was a waste of his time. The cultivator's origin soul returned to his body and looked at Luo Su with a pale expression. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. He got up, bowed, and left. The transfer array lit up and disappeared along with the cultivator. One of the 325 cultivators was missing. Luo Su frowned as he looked at the cultivators in the sky and casually pointed at one of them. The cultivator he pointed at clenched his teeth and landed on the square. He clasped his hands at Luo Su and respectfully said, "Senior, please enlighten me." Russell's expression relaxed slightly, but he didn't say anything. However, the golden-armored giant beside him stepped forward and unleashed the same spell as before, throwing a punch. The cultivator clenched his teeth and formed a seal with his hands. White light shined from his body in an attempt to stop the giant man in golden armor. However, the white light collapsed under the punch. The cultivator immediately took a few steps back and bit the tip of his tongue to spit out a mouthful of blood to stop the giant man. When the golden-armored giant's fist landed on the blood mist, a loud rumble immediately rang out. The blood mist immediately collapsed, and the cultivator's face turned pale. His body swayed, and most of his nascent soul left his body. The cultivator let out a painful roar, and popping sounds came from his body. His nascent soul was forcibly pulled back. However, doing so had clearly exceeded the cultivator's endurance. Although his origin soul had entered his body immediately withered. If you can last for 10 breaths, you pass. However, trash like you will be eliminated in the next trial even if you pass. Luo Su waved his sleeve and tossed the cultivator away. His face was deathly pale as he bowed toward Luo Su before returning to the teleportation formation and sitting down cross-legged to meditate. Subsequently, more and more people were selected by Russell. If they moved quickly, it would be fine. However, if they were too slow, then they would be forcefully dragged down by Russell. Just like the first person who went up, he was injured before he could even take the test. As more and more cultivators landed in the square, they were constantly called trash. Even the qualified ones couldn't escape being called trash. Gradually, Russell grew more and more impatient. Every time he pointed at a cultivator, the golden-armored giant would punch him. Time quickly passed. After 2 incense sticks of time, more than half of the cultivators had passed the test, and 40% of them had passed. The 6-fingered cultivator, the big-headed boy, Nangong Han, and a few others with high cultivation levels passed. Only during the test did Luo Su's expression relax a bit and he didn't call them trash. "You, come down." Luo Su pointed at a person in the transfer array. This person was Planet Donglin's Su Ting. His eyes lit up and he revealed a grim smile. Luo Su's eyes were cold and his right hand reached out. The giant hand immediately appeared and reached toward Su Ting. The moment it closed in, Su Ting's right hand formed a seal and black gas surrounded it. It turned into something that looked like an evil spirit. It let out a roar and charged at the giant hand. Su Ting sneered and charged down. He wasn't going to land on the square to wait for the test. Instead, as he charged down, his hands touched the ground before him and pulled. Thick, black gas formed a spear before him. There was a flash of coldness in Luo Su's eyes and the golden-armored cultivator immediately charged at Su Ting. Su Ting laughed like crazy and turned around. He actually gave up on charging at Luo Su and arrived next to the golden-armored cultivator. The spear in his hand stabbed forward. The giant golden-armored man swung his right fist, but just as his fist was about to collide with the spear twisted strangely. The tip of the spear disappeared, and in an instant, the spear turned into a strange black snake. The snake's body was long and thin, but when it opened its mouth, it was several hundred feet long. This scene was far too uncoordinated, and the surrounding cultivators all looked at it with grave expressions. The snake opened its mouth and immediately swallowed the golden-armored cultivator. When Wang Lin saw this, his pupils shrank. Su family's celestial spell, snake devouring. The Xiang family elder nodded with admiration in his eyes. That's right. This Su Ting is probably the strongest contender for the title this time. An old man beside him nodded and said with a smile. Not only them, but the surrounding cultivators also learned about this celestial art under the guidance of their respective patriarchs. One of the 4 great spells of the Su family, snake devouring. This spell is very mysterious, and you should all experience it. If this spell is used against a cultivator with a lower cultivation level, it can devour their cultivation level and turn it into the caster's own power. Celestial Master Shimizu's expression was calm as he coldly looked at Su Ting and didn't say anything. The coldness in Luo Su's eyes became even stronger, but thinking about how the other party was from the Su family, he suppressed his anger and coldly snorted. Qualified. After devouring the golden-armored giant, Su Ting laughed like crazy. He took the black gas that had turned back into a lance and returned to the transfer array. He looked at Wang Lin with a hint of provocation in his eyes. Luo Su's expression was gloomy as he pointed at the remaining people in the transfer array. This time, his finger landed on Wang Lin. You, come down. Luo Su's eyes lit up imperceptibly. He already knew what Wang Lin looked like. The other reason he had come here to preside over the first trial was because of Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he calmly walked toward the square. Perhaps Luo Su felt like Wang Lin was too slow, so he let out a cold snort and his right hand reached out. The giant palm appeared once more and reached toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin frowned slightly. As the giant palm closed in, it created a powerful gust of wind that swept toward Wang Lin. If he didn't dodge or resist, once he was caught, even if he passed this trial, he would be injured. Wang Lin wasn't the kind of person who would let others bully him. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes and his third eye opened. As he turned around, the red light spread out in a fan shape and surrounded the giant hand. He didn't stop and continued to move forward. As the red light surrounded him, a series of popping sounds echoed. The giant palm began to collapse and dissipate. Wang Lin walked out and landed on the square. He clasped his hands at Luo Su and calmly said, "Please enlighten me." When Master Flamespark saw this, his eyes lit up. He stared at the red light as if he had comprehended something. There was a hint of appreciation in his gaze toward Wang Lin. This child actually has this kind of spell. Although it's not powerful enough, it contains Grand Tao. Shimizu's expression was calm as he looked at Wang Lin and withdrew his gaze. Aside from the two of them, the eyes of all the old monsters on the praying mats lit up. Only Blood God's expression was gloomy and he sneered in his heart. Aside from them, only a small portion of the spectators could see how extraordinary the red light from the third eye was. Shi Zifeng's ancestor let out a sigh and muttered, "This person is so young and already has this kind of cultivation. He is not simple." Luo Su's expression became even more gloomy. The other party's spell had shocked him. He stared at Wang Lin and his divine sense spread out. The golden-armored giant immediately appeared. This giant gave off a dazzling golden glow. He charged forward with a force that could shake the origin soul and charged at Wang Lin. After 3 steps, the golden-armored giant threw a punch. This punch contained a force that targeted the origin soul. Wang Lin had already observed this. His eyes lit up and his hands formed a seal. Restrictions began to condense before him. These restrictions were densely packed and stacked on top of each other. However, in an instant, they transformed into a large expanse of restriction symbols that densely covered the surroundings. The moment the golden-armored giant closed in, these restrictions were released by Wang Lin's finger. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he said, "Seal." countless restrictions surrounded the golden-armored giant and immediately stuck close to him. The moment the golden-armored giant got close to Wang Lin, he was completely sealed by the restrictions. From beginning to end, Wang Lin didn't move a single step after landing on the square. He looked coldly at Luo Su and ignored the golden-armored giant that was 3 inches away from him. He turned around and walked away. His black hair fluttered as he moved and his white robe made him look extremely elegant. Although his appearance was ordinary, he gave off an indescribable temperament. Passing the first trial so cleanly caught the attention of all the surrounding cultivators. Su Ting's eyes lit up as he stared at Wang Lin. There was a flash of red light in his eyes. Shi Zifeng looked at Wang Lin. Her heart pounded and her face turned red. It was as if the scene of Wang Lin in the Thunder Celestial Realm appeared before her eyes. This restriction is very strong. The 6-fingered cultivator frowned as he looked at the sealed golden-armored giant. There was also the big-headed boy. Although he still had a silly smile on his face, there was a hint of coldness in his smile. Luo Su's expression was as gloomy as water as he stared at Wang Lin. 2 days ago, when he came out of closed-door cultivation, he heard something infuriating. His brother had been killed by someone named Su Mu outside the transfer array in the Thunder Celestial Realm. This Su Mu was currently in the Thunder Celestial Temple and was one of the contenders for a title. There was a flash of coldness in Luo Su's eyes. He didn't want to kill this person here, but he wanted to make sure this person couldn't pass the first trial. This way, this Su Mu would be teleported out of the Thunder Celestial Temple. That would be his chance to kill. Luo Su let out a cold snort and his divine sense spread out. The sealed golden-armored giant released a burst of golden light as if endless power had been injected into him. Popping sounds came from his body, and the restrictions collapsed one by one. The golden-armored giant took a step forward and a large, golden sword appeared in his hand. He held the large sword and chopped down at Wang Lin. At the same time, with Luo Su's divine sense spreading out, not only did the golden-armored giant's body expand several times until it was 1,000 feet tall, but 2 more golden-armored giants appeared and charged at Wang Lin. The 3 golden-armored giants were too fast. They created a storm as they charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin suddenly turned around and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. He quickly retreated and his hand formed a seal. Restrictions appeared before him to block one of the golden-armored giants. At the same time, he raised his right hand and mercilessly chopped down. Dozens of heavenly chops appeared and fused with the restrictions. They pierced through the second golden-armored giant. As for the third golden-armored giant, Wang Lin stepped forward and raised his right hand. The Wither Dao pair beast bones moved and suddenly appeared. The moment they appeared, the world was shrouded in killing intent. The third golden-armored giant's golden light dimmed and was replaced by a flash of gray light. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to point at the golden-armored giant's body. With a bang, the golden-armored giant's body collapsed. At the same time, the restriction and heavenly chop descended. Thunderous rumbles echoed as the other 2 golden-armored giants' bodies also collapsed. However, just as the 3 golden-armored giants collapsed, Russell made his move. This was the first time he had taken the initiative to attack aside from his divine sense. He moved as fast as lightning and moved at an unimaginable speed. He closed in on Wang Lin and pressed down with his finger. The moment his finger pressed down, he erupted with 100% of his cultivation. His peak mid-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivation arrived. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. It was too late for him to retreat, so he opened his mouth and spat out the celestial sealing stamp to block before him. Russell's finger pressed down on the celestial sealing stamp, causing it to tremble. Wang Lin immediately felt a powerful force enter his body. This force didn't harm his body, but when it entered his body, it forced his origin soul out of his body. Although it only left his body for 3 inches before it was pulled back into Wang Lin's body, Russell revealed a gloomy smile. He withdrew his finger and retreated. Not qualified. Russell waved his sleeves as he pointed at the other person in the formation and said, "You, come down." Russell's action was a bit risky. After all, this was the celestial competition, and there were many spectators. However, his status in the Thunder Celestial Temple was special, and he didn't think he had done anything too out of line, so he didn't take it too seriously. The cultivators in the sky that were being pointed at were startled, but they didn't say a word and continued to descend. However, just at this moment, Wang Lin, who had been knocked dozens of feet away by Russell, revealed killing intent in his eyes. Not qualified? Wang Lin had participated in the celestial competition with the determination to win and rank among the top. Russell's words had touched his bottom line. If he really wasn't qualified, it wouldn't matter, but Russell had obviously done this on purpose. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes as he closed in and waved his right hand. He didn't even look at the cultivator that was descending from the sky. The cultivator only felt a powerful gust of wind, and his expression changed greatly. He immediately retreated and complained in his heart. "You said I'm not qualified?" As Wang Lin charged over, monstrous killing intent erupted from his body. The mid-stage of Nirvana Scryer wasn't unattainable. Wang Lin had spent his entire life cultivating and had reached the early stage of Nirvana Scryer. Although he wasn't confident he could battle a mid-stage Nirvana Scryer, he wouldn't be willing to just leave like this. Moreover, with Shimizu here, Wang Lin had no fear. As he charged over, Wang Lin raised his right hand and Call the Wind filled the world. The black wind roared and covered the sky. 2 black dragons appeared and let out heaven-shaking roars as they charged at Russell. Russell's eyes lit up and he sneered. "You dare to go against the will of the Thunder Celestial Temple?" He took a step forward and his divine sense spread out. In an instant, 9 golden-armored giants appeared. These 9 giants were all 1,000 feet tall. They held large swords and let out roars as they charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin laughed like crazy, and this laughter was filled with endless coldness. He pointed at the sky and the Soul Lasher appeared. As the 2 black dragons roared, the Soul Lasher lashed out and a thunderous rumble echoed. The Soul Lasher moved like crazy, and as it lashed out, 3 golden-armored giants collapsed. Filled with killing intent, Wang Lin charged at Russell. Russell stared at the Soul Lasher and his expression changed slightly. There was a flash of coldness in Shimizu's eyes and he muttered, "Now this is more like a disciple of my teacher by Fan." 3rd place on the overall ranking. Thank you everyone. The 3 updates during the battle will affect the quality. Chapter 869. Russell's pupils shrank and his divine sense spread out. The divine sense of a mid-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivator was far stronger than an early-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivator. When his divine sense spread out, the remaining 7 golden-armored giants shined brightly. As Russell's divine sense spread out, a large amount of pressure formed within 10,000 feet. The 7 golden-armored giants charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he charged out without any hesitation. The Soul Lasher circled around him and grew infinitely until it was a 1,000-foot-long celestial whip. Wang Lin raised his right hand and grabbed it. With a shake, the Soul Lasher let out an ear-piercing howl. It was like the howl of an evil spirit as it lashed out. With a bang, a golden-armored giant with a fist was hit by the Soul Lasher and immediately collapsed. The Soul Lasher was originally black, but after destroying 4 golden-armored giants, it was as if it was shedding its skin. Layers of scales were pushed back. Bursts of golden light came from the Soul Lasher. At this moment, it was as if the 1,000-foot Soul Lasher had absorbed the power of the sun and moon. The sun was gold and the moon was silver. The Soul Lasher gave off a golden glow as it moved through Wang Lin like a dragon. As it moved, popping sounds echoed like crazy as the remaining golden-armored giants collapsed one by one. When the onlookers saw this, their eyes began to bulge. Even the eccentrics on the prayer mats were intrigued. An early-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivator battling a mid-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivator isn't common. I recognize this person, he is Su Mu. This treasure is too sharp. It obviously specializes in injuring the origin soul. Russell's divine sense is unpredictable, but he has met his match. Master Demon Su Mu? No wonder he dared to battle Russell. My lord. Shengong, who watched the battle between Wang Lin and Russell, and his mind trembled. Hot blood surged in his body as he stared at Wang Lin. The respect in his eyes gradually returned to reverence. Although it wasn't fanaticism, it had reached a considerable height. Zhang Konglai also watched this and took a deep breath. He could vaguely feel the powerful battle intent coming from Senior. This battle intent must be as Wang Lin had said. There was a reason he had to win. Wang Lin's black hair fluttered as he charged toward Russell. This area was filled with Russell's divine sense, so it was like moving in water. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes and his left hand formed a seal. With a point of his finger, the two black dragons circled around Wang Lin's body and formed a giant vortex. This vortex instantly became crazy like a storm, and there were two black dragons roaring inside. Wang Lin was inside the storm, and his white robe fluttered as he shouted, "Break!" Once he said that, the vortex formed by the black dragons around him immediately let out a bang and spread outwards madly. Cracking sounds rose in the air, and as the power of the vortex charged against the two black dragons, a gap was immediately torn open in the 10,000 feet area of the divine sense that had been squeezed by the divine sense. Although Wang Lin's cultivation and divine sense weren't as good as Russell's, his spells were amazing and he had treasures that specialized in suppressing origin souls. The moment the gap in the 10,000-foot divine sense was opened, the soul lasher immediately lashed out. A thunderous rumble echoed as Russell's divine sense collapsed and turned into an invisible force that was pushed back. Wang Lin's figure moved like lightning. The moment the 10,000-foot divine sense collapsed, he stepped out. The two black dragons let out roars as they charged at Russell. This cold wind caused the surrounding cultivators to feel a chill. It was as if they were in an ice cave, and their expressions changed greatly. Russell's expression was gloomy and there was a flash of killing intent in his eyes. He sat down on the ground and his hands formed a seal. He didn't pay any attention to the cold wind and closed his eyes. I, Russell, am at the mid-stage of Nirvana Scryer. If I can't kill you, then my thousands of years of cultivation would have been for nothing. The moment Russell closed his eyes, a powerful divine sense came out from his body and turned into countless sharp needles. There were countless needles formed by his divine sense around him, and there were more than 1,000 of them. The moment these sharp needles formed, they shot out toward Wang Lin. Every sharp needle contained the transformations of Luo Sou's consciousness. This was the technique that made him famous in his life. It was also praised by many seniors as a great technique. Amongst cultivators, practically most divine abilities were formed from the energy within their bodies, and there were very few that utilized the soul core to attack. However, when divine sense attacks were mentioned, the hearts of every single cultivator shook. Spells formed by the power of one's body could be resisted, but spells formed by divine sense were meant to injure the origin soul. Once the origin soul was injured, at best it would be a serious injury. At worst, it would cause one's cultivation to regress and even death. Back then, Yao Bingyun's damaged soul print was one of them. However, this damaged soul print was a combination of origin energy and divine sense. In a way, it wasn't a complete divine sense attack. Although it had the effect, it had its flaws. However, the spell Russell was using was a complete divine sense attack. There was no origin energy mixed in at all, making this divine sense attack even more powerful. It was because he had focused all his spells on his divine sense that he was able to have such a high status in the Thunder Celestial Temple with his mid-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivation. You attacked first and I was only resisting. Since that's the case, then accept your death. Russell let out a roar and suddenly opened his eyes. Countless divine sense needles immediately closed in on Wang Lin. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He let out a cold snort and his hand formed a seal. The two black dragons charged out and collided with the divine sense needles. It was as if they were transparent as they passed through the divine sense needles. The black dragons let out angry roars and charged at Russell. The divine sense needles quickly charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm. If it was a mid-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivator, it would be extremely difficult for him to fight. After all, the difference between every small stage of the second step was very large. However, this Russell was using a divine sense attack. If it was anyone else, they would have a headache. After all, the difference in cultivation level represented the strength of the origin soul. As a result, the clash of divine senses would immediately determine who was stronger. However, Wang Lin didn't care about this divine sense attack at all. The moment the divine sense needles closed in, the soul lasher rotated and swept by. Popping sounds echoed and a large amount of divine sense needles collapsed. However, there were too many divine sense needles, so some still penetrated the soul lasher and entered Wang Lin's body. They turned into a powerful force that charged at his origin soul. However, the moment these divine sense needles touched Wang Lin's origin soul, they collided with the ancient god leather armor and instantly collapsed. With the ancient god leather armor, this bit of divine sense attack was simply not enough. At this moment, Russell revealed a ferocious expression as the two black dragons closed in. His hand formed a seal, and he pointed to between his eyebrows. He didn't even look at the two black dragons as he stared at Wang Lin. There was a flash of green light between his eyebrows. This green light was very dense and rushed out to form a green snake. This green snake opened its mouth and revealed its sharp fangs. It let out a sharp hiss and charged out. The moment the soul lasher landed on the green snake, it split in half and dodged to the left and right before landing on Wang Lin's body. The green snakes entered Wang Lin's body and turned into two unimaginable forces that charged at Wang Lin's origin soul. One of them was faster, and when it got close to Wang Lin's origin soul, it opened its fangs and tried to devour Wang Lin's origin soul. However, when it bit the ancient god leather armor, the green snake's fangs collapsed, but its ferocity didn't decrease at all. The moment it touched the ancient god leather armor, the green snake turned into a cloud of green gas and tried to enter Wang Lin's origin soul. Just at this moment, the other green snake arrived. It opened its mouth and viciously swallowed. The ancient god leather armor trembled and the green snake collapsed. It turned into a cloud of green gas that moved along the ancient god leather armor. Outsiders couldn't see the danger inside the origin soul, but if they were careless, they would immediately die. Wang Lin's face was pale and his eyes were filled with killing intent. However, he forcefully endured it. In a flash, two of his fingers formed a sword and shot toward Russell. Russell's pupils shrank. His eyes were filled with terror and he exclaimed, "Impossible!" He couldn't believe that his mid-stage Nirvana Scryer divine sense attack wasn't damaged at all. This was beyond his thousands of years of cultivation. Even if he has a treasure to protect his divine sense, my cultivation level is one small realm higher than his, and I've been cultivating my divine sense for thousands of years. Even if he has a celestial treasure to protect his origin soul, it's impossible for him to not be injured at all. While Russell was shocked, the two black dragons charged at him and mercilessly tried to devour him. Russell's face was pale. His origin spell was much weaker than his divine sense, but he was still at the mid-stage of Nirvana Scryer, so he naturally had a lot of treasures. At this moment, he slapped his bag of holding and a small drum appeared in his hand. He threw it and the drum immediately grew. As the two black dragons closed in, the drum began to beat. This sound created a powerful gust of wind. However, under the cold wind from the two black dragons, the drum immediately trembled and the sound of the drum suddenly stopped. As Russell retreated, he pointed at the drum and shouted, "Drum collapse!" The drum trembled and immediately collapsed. A powerful force came out from within, forming a shock wave that swept up one of the black dragons and smashed it into the drum. A loud bang shook the sky and earth, causing the ears of all the cultivators in the area to roar. The drum crumbled and disappeared, and the black dragon also turned into countless fragments of wind that scattered into the air. Wang Lin's figure moved like lightning. The moment the drum collapsed, he stepped on the other black dragon and charged at Russell with killing intent. Wang Lin knew that Russell's divine sense had been broken, and due to the shock, a flaw had appeared in his mind. If he didn't take this opportunity to attack, then once Russell's divine sense recovered, there would be another battle. Once this person used an origin spell, if Wang Lin was the slightest bit careless, he would lose. Although Shimizu was here and it was unlikely he would die, his qualification would disappear. As he charged out, Wang Lin raised his right hand and the celestial sealing stamp flew out. It moved even faster and smashed toward Russell. Russell's face was pale, but his eyes lit up. He no longer thought about his divine sense being broken. His right hand formed a seal and a powerful origin energy gathered in his hand. It turned into a ball of thunder and fire. Just as he was about to throw it out, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he shouted, "Stop!" With a single word, Russell immediately felt countless threads wrapping around his body. He struggled a little, and although he immediately broke free, the celestial sealing stamp was still coming for him. At the same time, the hundreds of thousands of golden runes spread out and charged toward Russell. Luo Su's heart was very gloomy. Elemental energy divine abilities were not his forte. His forte was his divine sense technique, but it was useless against his opponent. This caused him to feel extremely bitter. After breaking free from the stop spell, Russell threw the ball of thunder and fire. The ball of thunder and fire immediately grew until it was more than 100 feet wide. It turned into a mouth of fire and directly tried to devour the celestial sealing stamp. The moment the flame devoured the stamp, the entire stamp was filled with fire. However, the stamp wasn't damaged at all and continued to ruthlessly press down. There was a loud bang as the celestial sealing stamp pressed down. Russell's body flickered and his expression was gloomy. His clothes were tattered and his eyes were red. "I don't believe you can resist my divine sense forever." Russell's eyes were red as he charged out toward Wang Lin. As he charged out, his divine sense spread out and formed a palm. Waves of divine sense shot out toward Wang Lin. The stop spell was broken, causing Wang Lin to tremble and suffer the backlash. He slapped his bag of holding and took out an origin soul from the 1,000,000,000 soul flag. He threw the origin soul into his mouth to replenish the origin energy he used. At this moment, Russell didn't retreat but charged forward. The waves of divine sense landed on Wang Lin. The soul lasher swept across Wang Lin's body. The incoming divine sense immediately collapsed, but some penetrated and landed on Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin's face was slightly pale. Although the ancient god leather armor was strong, there were still vibrations that entered his origin soul. His eyes were filled with killing intent and he also stepped out. Origin energy gathered in his hand and his two fingers formed a sword. Heavenly chops appeared one by one as he charged out. Russell and Wang Lin moved faster and faster. One used his divine sense to attack and origin energy to defend, while the other used his origin energy to attack and his divine sense to defend. The two of them began a heaven-shaking battle. Popping sounds echoed as the two of them fought even more intensely. Enough! Just as their battle reached its peak, Master Flamespark frowned and let out a roar. Along with the roar came a powerful surge of origin energy that forced its way into their battle. The origin energy collapsed and caused both of them to retreat. There was a flash of killing intent in Shimizu's eyes. He let out a cold snort and his G-realm shot out. Chapter 870. Wang Lin's face was pale. He felt an unimaginably powerful force suddenly explode in the middle of the battle. This caused his body to tremble and he was forced back. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and staggered back a few steps after landing on the ground. As for Russell, he also coughed out a mouthful of blood and was forced back several dozen feet. He stared at Wang Lin and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Master Flamespark separated the two of them and didn't favor either side. However, the mouthful of blood from Wang Lin caused the G-realm in Shimizu's eyes to appear. He is not someone you can kill, you don't have the qualifications. The moment the G-realm appeared, the world changed colors and a cold aura shrouded the area. This cold aura contained an extreme power. The expressions of the old monsters on the praying mats changed greatly. This was the first time they had felt Celestial Lord Shimizu's most powerful spell. They weren't the only ones. All of the surrounding cultivators' faces flickered with astonishment. "Stop!" Master Flamespark suddenly got up, but his voice was too late. Russell only felt an irresistible force rush into his body in an instant. He only saw his vision turn red, as if a red bolt of lightning had entered his body. Immediately after, he heard the sound of his Yuan Shen collapsing. When this sound entered his ears, an unimaginable pain rumbled through his body like crazy. Russell's origin soul was unable to resist the red lightning at all. It collapsed in an instant and turned into countless fragments that entered his body. At that moment, his body coughed out a large amount of blood mist. He struggled to turn around to look at the person who had killed him, but he was only able to do this halfway before his eyes dimmed, and he fell to the ground with a bang. He was dead. There was a flash of red light from Russell's body. The red light took Russell's broken origin soul and returned to Shimizu's body. Shimizu's face turned slightly red. Silence, the surroundings were completely silent. This sudden scene caused all the surrounding cultivators to suck in a breath of cold air. It was as if they had lost their minds as they watched this unimaginable scene. Shimizu! Master Flamespark's expression was ferocious. He was filled with anger as he stared at Shimizu. Shimizu calmly said, "You made Sumu cough out a mouthful of blood and I'll take his life." Master Flamespark stared at Shimizu and said, "The old man wasn't biased at all. Shimizu, if you don't give me an explanation, then the old man will fight you even if I have to give up on the celestial title. It was just a slip. If you want to fight, then let's fight." A red light flashed in Qing Shui's right eye. Ever since he absorbed the divine retribution, his G-realm had recovered a bit, and the way he did things in the past gradually revealed itself. There was no reason to kill. If there was a reason, then it would be to protect his own. There was no way for him to repay the kindness his master had shown him. Although his master had been joking all those years ago, as of this moment, Bai Xiaochun was very serious. In his heart, Sumu was his junior brother, and as long as he was there, no one could bully Sumu. Moreover, the killing intent in Russell's eyes had been clearly seen by Shimizu. He had to kill such a person. Wang Lin was silent. He looked at Shimizu and said respectfully, "Thank you, elder brother." As soon as these words came out, the silence in the surroundings suddenly turned into a frenzied wolf. "Senior brother? This Sumu is Senior Shimizu's junior brother? This is too unbelievable. I didn't expect Shimizu and Sumu to be from the same sect. Rumor has it that Shimizu's master was Celestial Emperor Bai Fan. This Sumu is actually Bai Fan's disciple? No wonder this Sumu has been so arrogant all these years. So his senior brother is Celestial Master Shimizu. Without Celestial Master Shimizu, I'm afraid this Sumu is nothing." Su Ting's expression was gloomy. He licked his lips and stared at Wang Lin. Hundreds of thoughts flashed through his mind, but in the end, he looked at Shimizu with fear and made a decision in his heart. As for the six-fingered cultivator and the big-headed boy, they were both startled. They frowned and had their own thoughts. Shi Zifeng's mouth was wide open. Her eyes were filled with disbelief toward the relationship between Wang Lin and Shimizu. While she was happy, she couldn't help but sigh. With my identity, I'm afraid there won't be any outcome between us in this lifetime. My lord is actually Celestial Emperor Bai Fan's disciple. Celestial Master Shimizu's junior brother. Shungong, who sucked in a breath of cold air, and the reverence in his eyes was replaced with fanaticism once more. This time, it was even stronger than before. As his understanding of Wang Lin deepened, this fanaticism seemed to last forever. Zhang Konglai stared dumbfoundedly at the scene before him and made up his mind. As for Nangong Han, he bitterly smiled and thought, this Su Mu and Celestial Master Shimizu are from the same sect. It looks like I have to get closer to him in the future. It will definitely be good for me in the future. Not only them, but the eyes of the old monsters on the praying mats lit up. They were obviously shocked by this matter. Only Blood God sneered in his heart. Bursts of discussion entered Master Flamespark's ears. He looked at Shimizu, and after pondering for a bit, he laughed and said, "Since it was an accident by Celestial Master, then this matter will be over. I just hope that Celestial Master doesn't make another mistake out of consideration for us cultivators." Shimizu closed his eyes and silently cultivated. Master Flamespark let out a sigh in his heart. He had opened the seal to invite Shimizu. Although Shimizu's cultivation hadn't recovered, under his careful observation, he found that there was a hidden power in Shimizu's body. This power wasn't the G-realm, but it still made him feel dread. He really didn't want such a small matter to affect the relationship between them. Most importantly, even the senior who had subdued the moon beast, whom he respected greatly, had warned him not to easily provoke Qing Shui. Even Bai Fan had wanted to take him in as a disciple and appease him, not force him to submit. This Russell is too arrogant. If he is dead, then he is dead. What a pity for his divine sense spell. Master Flamespark's gaze fell on Wang Lin and he thought, this Su Mu must have a powerful origin soul protection treasure. Perhaps it was given to him by Shimizu. Master Flamespark's voice was calm. Su Mu qualified. After Russell's death, Master Flamespark called for someone else to take charge of the first trial. They were probably shocked by Russell's death. In the end, out of the 325 people, 196 remained. The rest disappeared into the transfer array and were sent out. The second trial, the Earth trial. Master Flamespark raised his right hand, formed a seal, and pressed down on the Thunder Lake below. Immediately, an illusory seal formed in his hand, and with a bang, it landed on the square. At the instant it did so, the entire 10,000 feet square immediately started boiling. Thunderous rumbles reverberated madly in the air, and countless green bolts of lightning flashed and swam about, as if they had turned into a real pool of lightning. These bolts of lightning were like silver snakes that flickered endlessly. They were densely packed, and as the thunder roared, they gathered together and spread out in all directions. At the very center of the 10,000 feet wide plaza, there was an empty space that was 30 feet wide. Last for 15 breaths of time and you will pass. The rest will be disqualified. A roar came from the Thunder Lake. An illusory thunder spirit formed by countless bolts of thunder appeared outside the 30-foot wide area. As it moved, it gave off a powerful aura. The gazes of the surrounding cultivators all fell on Wang Lin. In the first trial, Wang Lin was definitely in the limelight. A majority of the cultivators wanted to see how long Su Mu could last in the second trial. Even some famous old monsters began to pay attention. The power of the Thunder Spirit inside the Thunder Lake is not something an ordinary person can withstand. This Su Mu will be able to last at most 20 breaths of time. After all, not many messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple can last more than 20 breaths of time under the power of the Thunder Spirit. As far as I know, the Thunder Lake of the Thunder Celestial Temple is one of the tests for the title of Messenger. Messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple are divided into 4 ranks. 20 breaths is the 4th rank, 80 breaths is the 1st rank, and 100 breaths is the 1st rank. I just don't know how long this sumu will last. I'm looking forward to it. This Thunder Lake tests real cultivation. I fear a miracle won't happen for this sumu. I'm more optimistic about Su Ting from planet Dong Lin. The surrounding cultivators began to discuss in low voices. Thank you everyone for your monthly votes. Chapter 871. Wang Lin looked at the Thunder Lake Square, especially at the thunder spirit that was moving around. His eyes revealed a strange expression. The human trial was a bit difficult, but this earth trial, the strange expression in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger. Shi Zifeng pursed her lips as she looked at Wang Lin and then at the Thunder Lake Square. Worry appeared in her heart. She touched her bag of holding and pondered for a long time. She clenched her teeth and ignored the redness on her cheeks. She jumped into the air like a butterfly and flew toward the group of people competing for titles. She was already very beautiful, and now her cheeks were completely red. She charged at Wang Lin, lowered her head, and took out a green jade from her bag of holding. She softly said, "This is for you." With that, she placed the jade in her hand in Wang Lin's hand and quickly flew back with a red face. When she returned, she could hear her heart beating even faster. When she returned to her original position, she immediately lowered her head and her mind was completely blank. When the Shi family's ancestor saw this, he let out a sigh and revealed a complicated expression. Enter the Thunder Lake. Master Flamespark's voice echoed across the world and turned into a thunderous rumble. This caused the thunder inside the Thunder Lake to change violently. The 30-feet area at the center of the Thunder Lake was filled with thunder. In an instant, this 10,000-feet area turned into a real Thunder Lake. Waves of thunder flashed as the Thunder Lake gave off an oppressive aura. A majority of the cultivators felt their scalps go numb just looking at it. In particular, the snake-shaped thunder spirit would occasionally gather inside the Thunder Lake and let out bursts of roars. Su Ting let out a cold snort and was the first to walk towards the lightning pool. The moment he stepped into the lightning pool, countless arcs of lightning spread from his feet to his entire body. Almost in an instant, his entire body was filled with lightning. Su Ting's body trembled. He took a deep breath, took 5 steps, and sat down in the lotus position. After him, Shingong who stepped out. His cultivation was related to thunder, and he often cultivated in places filled with thunder. This wasn't his first time entering the Thunder Lake, so he was very calm. After entering the Thunder Lake, he sat down in the lotus position. Soon after, more and more people stepped into the lightning pool and sat around it. However, some of them didn't have enough cultivation bases. The moment they stepped into the lightning pool, their bodies trembled and they quickly retreated. Their faces were pale, as if they had been injured. Wang Lin held the jade that Shi Zifeng had given him. He looked at Shi Zifeng, who didn't dare to look at him, and let out a sigh. He had scanned the jade with his divine sense and knew that it could resist powerful thunder. It was obviously a defensive treasure for this woman. After silently pondering, he put the jade in his robe and walked into the Thunder Lake. Although Shi Zifeng had her head lowered, she could see what Wang Lin was doing. When she saw Wang Lin put the jade in his robe, her heart began to beat faster. However, at this moment, she didn't see that after her cousin, the handsome man in green, entered the Thunder Lake, he looked at Wang Lin with a deeply hidden hostility. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he walked into the Thunder Lake. The moment his right foot stepped on the Thunder Lake, he immediately felt a powerful surge of thunder enter his body through his right foot. A very comfortable feeling immediately spread through Wang Lin's body, as if this place was his home. However, Wang Lin's expression didn't change at all as he walked forward. As he walked, the thunder inside the Thunder Lake flashed and circled around his body, creating thunderous rumbles. After finding an empty space, Wang Lin sat down in the lotus position. The second trial begins, using the drum to calculate the time. Just as Master Flamespark's voice echoed, two messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple closed in. There was a flash of black light between them, and a large drum appeared. Dong! A long and drawn-out sound of a drum reverberated in the world. This sound seemed to have replaced the rumbling of thunder, and a single beat from the drum would last for one breath. There were nearly 200 cultivators sitting cross-legged inside the 10,000-meter lightning pool. When the first sound of the drum echoed out, the lightning inside the lightning pool seemed to be shaken. It immediately rose up 3 inches. Intense thunder roared and turned into boundless lightning. It was as if a storm of lightning had appeared inside the lightning pool. Within the tempest, the lightning spirit, which was formed from the glow of lightning, roamed about, emanating an indescribable might of lightning. It spread out for 3,000 meters, causing the power of the lightning pool to undergo shocking transformations. Large amounts of thunder flashed and entered the bodies of the cultivators. The cultivators either resisted or took out defensive treasures. In an instant the thunder lake shined brightly. Su Ting was surrounded by black fog to prevent the thunder from invading. As for the other cultivators, they all had their own ways to resist. As Wang Lin sat there, thunder roared around him. Large amounts of thunder entered his body and nourished his origin soul. This caused his origin soul, which had been damaged during the battle with Russell, to rapidly recover. This feeling made him feel very comfortable. At this moment, he closed his eyes and didn't even look at the others. Dong! The second drum beat echoed in the air. In an instant, the power of the Thunder Lake became even stronger. The thunder spirit roared and thick bolts of thunder lashed out like whips. Every time a bolt of thunder landed on a cultivator's body, the cultivator's body would tremble. The sound of the drum reverberated in the air. The third sound, the fourth sound, all the way until the 10th sound. The power of the lightning pool had already reached an earth-shattering level. Countless bolts of lightning shot up to 3 zhang, enveloping the entire pool. Immediately, a cultivator from the southern domain of the Luo Tian coughed out a mouthful of blood. His body was hit by a powerful force and was thrown out. Blood splattered everywhere. He was injured. The fog around Su Ting became even thicker, as if it could block out the thunder. His expression was calm as he stared at Wang Lin. He had been observing Wang Lin for a long time, and Wang Lin's actions after entering the Thunder Lake were too strange. This Su Mu didn't resist at all and didn't activate any treasures. He just calmly sat there as if this was his closed-door cultivation room. What's even more strange is that when the powerful power of thunder entered his body, it actually disappeared. The more Su Ting watched, the more shocked he became. He couldn't help but have all kinds of speculations, but he couldn't guess the real answer. One of the 2 messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple waved his right hand and landed on the surface of the drum. The 11th sound of the drum echoed. Within the pool of lightning, all of the lightning began to tremble. Suddenly, all of the lightning began to gather in one place. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into a snake-like creature that was 1,000 feet long. It looked like a snake, but at the same time, it looked like a dragon. It was formed from lightning, and it emitted the might of heaven and earth. It was the Thunder Spirit. Roar! The moment the Thunder Spirit was formed, it immediately let out a roar. This roar reverberated through the air and turned into a thunderous roar that seemed to come from ancient times. It shook the heavens and the earth and shook the hearts of all cultivators. Even the black fog around Su Ting almost collapsed at this moment. There was a hint of shock in his eyes as his hands formed a seal and more black fog came out from between his eyebrows and surrounded the area. If Su Ting was like this, there was no need to talk about the other cultivators. After this earth-shattering roar, more than a dozen people coughed out blood and were thrown away. As the 12th, 13th, and 14th drum beats rang out, the Thunder Spirit's roars became even more intense. In the end, when the 15th drum beat rang out, the Thunder Spirit's entire body rushed out. It opened its mouth wide and spat out a large amount of lightning. The thunderous rumbles caused the sky to change colors, and the expressions of the surrounding cultivators changed. Although they were outside, they could still feel the irresistible might of the heavens within the Thunder Spirit's roar. This pressure condensed and reached its peak as the Thunder Spirit spat out a ray of thunder. Dozens more people coughed out blood and were thrown out. The terror in their eyes had reached the point of fear. Shengong, who struggled bitterly. His limit in the past was 15 breaths, but at this moment there was a belief in his heart that allowed him to persist. Zhang Konglai took a deep breath and also clenched his teeth to endure. Even the six-fingered cultivator and the big-headed boy were the same. However, it was obvious they hadn't used their full strength and were a bit relaxed. However, compared to Wang Lin, this ease was insignificant. As Wang Lin sat there, the large amount of thunder entered his body and nourished his origin soul. His injuries from before were completely healed in just a dozen breaths of time. Not only that, but even the hidden danger left by his battle with Yao Bingyun was completely eliminated. As for the Thunder Spirit's roar, when it landed on Wang Lin's body, it was like a child roaring at him. Although this feeling was a bit strange, it was indeed what he felt at this moment. Although this child was extremely powerful in many people's eyes, to Wang Lin, it was just a child. It could be said that this was a child that was constantly evolving into a thunder dragon. Wang Lin's expression was neutral and he ignored everything around him. He closed his eyes and calmly absorbed the thunder here, causing his ancient thunder dragon origin soul to gradually become stronger. After 15 drum beats, the Thunder Spirit seemed to have been freed from its shackles. It let out a roar and swept its body. Its large body created a wave of thunder that swept the area. More than a dozen cultivators were hit by the wave of thunder. Their faces turned pale and they were sent flying. The Thunder Spirit seemed to be very proud as it let out a roar and swept by once more. This time it swept by Wang Lin. The moment the Thunder Spirit's body swept by, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes and coldly stared at the Thunder Spirit. This gaze was like someone looking at an ignorant child playing. The update was late. The next chapter would take 1 hour, so there were still 1,000 words to go. Chapter 872. The Thunder Spirit was feeling proud when it suddenly saw Wang Lin's gaze. Wang Lin's gaze penetrated its body and landed on its Thunder Soul. A powerful will that came from deep within the Thunder Soul erupted and filled its entire body. It was so powerful that it almost lost its wit. It let out a howl and its body trembled violently. His body, which was sweeping forward, actually came to a halt and immediately rolled back. All of this was its instinct. It was as if there was a powerful force that forced it to retreat. Wang Lin closed his eyes and no longer paid attention to the Thunder Spirit. He could vaguely feel that this Thunder Spirit was only a sliver of the Thunder Soul. The real Thunder Spirit that protected the Thunder Celestial Realm wouldn't be like this. The Thunder Spirit's body was knocked back and its eyes were filled with shock. Its intelligence had been activated a long time ago. Originally, it didn't care about these cultivators at all, but at that moment it felt like it had met its ancestor. This feeling was engraved in its Thunder Soul. It was a memory that had been passed down from generation to generation since its birth. In ancient times, the heavens gave thunder dragons the power to wield thunder. Thunder dragons were born because of this. They were born from thunder and were the spirits of all thunder. All the thunder in the world belonged to thunder dragons. However, thunder dragons didn't have life and death. They were born from thunder and died from thunder. They turned into a thunder spirit and returned to the void to become the power of thunder again. However, there was such a thunder spirit in the Thunder Celestial Realm. Through some unknown method, it didn't dissipate but became the guardian beast of the Thunder Celestial Realm. The thunder spirit of the Thunder Celestial Temple was separated from the celestial realm. When it met Wang Lin, it immediately felt a shock it had never felt before. Fortunately, after Wang Lin closed his eyes, the majesty of the ancient thunder dragon no longer spread out and instead absorbed the thunder. This allowed the thunder spirit to relax and roar at the surrounding cultivators with unspeakable anger. Su Ting's eyes were like torches inside the black fog. When he personally saw all of this, his mind was shaken and he didn't dare to believe his own eyes. In his view, this Su Mu was really unbelievable. How is this possible? He just glanced at the Thunder Soul and it was actually scared. Furthermore, from the looks of it, it's as if the juniors of the clan had seen their ancestor. Shingong, who also noticed this, and his eyes were filled with reverence. He couldn't help but think about the first time he met Wang Lin. It was in a lightning prison, and he could never forget the figure that walked out of the lightning prison. That black hair floated in the air, and that gaze made him feel like his body was going to collapse. He would never forget it for the rest of his life. Exalt! The fanaticism in Shingong, whose eyes was strong. Zhang Konglai sucked in a breath of cold air as he looked at Wang Lin. He thought back to his battle with Shingong, who in the Thunder Prison. Under Wang Lin's guidance, Shingong, who seemed to have grasped a law of thunder. Not only them, but some of the surrounding cultivators also noticed this. Their minds trembled and their eyes were filled with shock. Wang Lin turned a blind eye to all of this. At this moment, he began to explore the law of thunder once more. He was gradually immersed in it, as if he had forgotten everything around him. On the praying mat 10,000 feet away, Shimizu's eyes narrowed and he revealed a smile. On the side, Master Flamespark was startled and wryly smiled. He had forgotten that if not for his help, Su Mu would have become a thunder spirit. Not only was this earth trial not difficult for Su Mu, it was as easy as stepping into his own garden. Forget it, I'll just consider it as compensation for borrowing his thunder beast. It can also be considered a way to repair the unhappiness between me and Shimizu. Master Flamespark shook his head with a wry smile, but he didn't stop Su Mu. As for the Thunder Dragon, after it was frightened by Wang Lin, it was filled with anger. It was like a naughty child being scolded by an elder and was venting its anger on someone else. It let out a roar and charged at the surrounding cultivators. The first to bear the brunt was Shi Zifeng's cousin, a handsome man in green. His hands formed a seal and 3 green jades floated before him. All the thunder around him was absorbed by the 3 jades. As the lightning spirit roared, it directly charged forward. The thunderous roar brought with it an impact that seemed like it was venting its anger. The green-robed man's expression changed greatly. He wanted to retreat, but in the end, he clenched his teeth. In the blink of an eye, the thunder spirit's 1,000 feet body suddenly closed in and smashed into the green-robed man. An earth-shattering sound that caused all the thunder in the thunder pool to scatter reverberated in the area. The 3 jade slips immediately shattered into countless pieces with a bang. The green-robed man coughed out a large mouthful of blood and quickly retreated. However, the lightning spirit was extremely annoyed and did not stop. It chased after the green-robed man like a naughty child. Its wide-open mouth was filled with endless lightning. The man in green moved very fast and immediately escaped the Thunder Lake. His expression was gloomy as he viciously stared at the Thunder Spirit. The Thunder Spirit swung its body and charged down. The sound of the drum echoed in the sky. The 16th beat, the 17th beat, and finally the 18th beat rang out. The Thunder Spirits went mad and chased away most of the cultivators within the 3,000-meter Thunderbolt pool. As it roared, the Thunder Spirit moved once more. This time, it was Shingong Hu and Zhang Konglai. The two of them bitterly smiled and immediately left to avoid the crazy Thunder Spirit. Even the big-headed boy and 6-fingered cultivator immediately left when the 19th beat echoed. They didn't want to provoke the Thunder Spirit that was obviously stimulated. At this moment, There were only 2 people left inside the Thunder Lake. The black fog around Su Ting was extremely dense. Almost everything within 30 feet of him was covered by the black fog, and all the thunder was blocked by the black fog. Opposite him, Wang Lin was calmly sitting inside the Thunder Lake with his eyes closed. Bolts of thunder surrounded his body, causing Wang Lin's long hair to flutter. He gave off the temperament of a thunder celestial. Su Ting complained bitterly in his heart. The power of thunder around him was becoming stronger and stronger, and even he felt like it wasn't enough. However, when he saw Wang Lin opposite him, he was extremely unwilling. How can he last for so long? I'm working so hard and I'm barely able to last, but he is extremely relaxed and doesn't feel any discomfort. I can't accept this. Su Ting's expression was ferocious and the black fog between his eyebrows became even stronger. The thunder spirit suddenly turned around. It didn't dare to provoke Wang Lin and instead stared at Su Ting. It let out a roar and charged out. As its body moved, the Thunder Lake gave off a powerful burst of thunder that entered its body. It was filled with the might of ancient thunder, and as it charged out, it opened its mouth to devour Su Ting. The black fog around Su Ting dissipated like crazy. His face was pale, but he had to retreat. He retreated more than 100 feet and flew out of the Thunder Lake. I can't accept this. This Su Mu must be cheating. Su Ting landed outside the Thunder Lake and immediately let out a roar. The Thunder Spirit looked at Su Ting and moved toward Wang Lin. Its eyes were filled with confusion, but it still let out a roar. However, it didn't dare to get close. It had a feeling that this person had an aura that made it tremble. Wang Lin opened his eyes. The moment he opened them, 2 bolts of thunder shot out from his eyes. He stood up and pondered for a bit before walking toward the center of the Thunder Lake under everyone's gazes. When he was sitting there, he vaguely felt like he had grasped something. Now that he was at the center, he immediately sat down and closed his eyes to cultivate. This scene caused all the surrounding cultivators to be dumbfounded. This Su Mu isn't affected by the thunder and is extremely calm. What kind of cultivation method is he cultivating? The Thunder Spirit seems to be extremely afraid of Su Mu. This matter is very strange. This Su Mu is not simple. Su Ting gasped. After watching for a long time, he turned around and left. He now knew that the Earth trial was different to Su Mu than it was to him. The drumming in the sky didn't stop. Wang Lin didn't move at all. The Thunder Spirit wandered around, and the ferocious gaze in its eyes became stronger and stronger. The stimulation from the Thunder Spirit made it want to devour Su Mu. This feeling became stronger and stronger until it filled its entire mind. Devour him and you can turn into a thunder dragon. It was as if there was a voice madly roaring in its soul. This roar was filled with greed, and this greed caused the Thunder Spirit to tremble. It continued to roar as all of the thunder within the 10,000-foot pool of thunder gathered towards its body. Its roars became more and more intense, and in the end, the Thunder Spirit let out a roar of rage and rushed out. As it moved, all the lightning in the 10,000-feet pool of lightning turned into endless thunderous roars. The instant it gathered on its body, a large amount of cracks appeared on the bluestone ground. Roar! The snake-shaped Thunder Spirit charged out with monstrous greed and the determination to turn into a dragon. It charged toward Wang Lin. It was as if the entire 3,000-foot Thunder Lake had been swept up by it. It carried with it an unimaginable force as it closed in on Wang Lin. At this moment, lightning flashed between Wang Lin's eyebrows, and the primordial Thunder Dragon nascent divinity flew out. The primordial Thunder Dragon was the messenger of all thunder in the world. Wang Lin hadn't fully fused with it, but even so, he had gained enormous benefit. Once he fully fused with it, all the power of thunder would be in his hands. The primordial Thunder Dragon appeared, and as it charged out, the Thunder Spirit began to tremble. It felt as if it couldn't resist an aura that came from Wang Lin's nascent divinity. This feeling came from the inheritance deep within its soul. It could devour any cultivator, but when faced with the aura of its ancestor, it was so weak that it didn't have the slightest bit of courage. However, within its soul, the crazed roar grew even more intense. Devour him, and you will become a thunder dragon. Thank you, Alliance Leader Proudtree. Thank you very much. There will be another chapter in a bit. Chapter 873. The ancient thunder dragon's origin soul let out a roar and rushed toward the thunder spirit to devour it. The thunder spirit's body trembled, and the voice in its soul seemed to go crazy. It struggled for a bit before roaring and also devouring the thunder spirit. As the primordial thunder dragon and the thunder soul devoured each other, the thunder pool immediately surged with a thunderous roar that had never been heard before. Wang Lin's ancient thunder dragon origin soul continued to devour the thunder spirit. This devouring was a kind of fusion between thunder and lightning. Although the thunder spirit was powerful, it wasn't complete. Wang Lin hadn't fully fused with the thunder dragon yet, so they were evenly matched after devouring it. With a roar, the ancient thunder dragon Wang Lin had turned into devoured half of the thunder spirit's body. The thunder spirit struggled as thunder moved through its body and tried to devour Wang Lin. The eyes of the thunder dragon formed by Wang Lin's origin soul were filled with coldness. It ignored the thunder spirit and opened its mouth to devour. Wang Lin's origin soul already had the characteristics of a soul devourer. After fusing with the ancient thunder dragon, the characteristics of a soul devourer became even stronger. Adding in his 1,000 years of cultivation, he was ruthless, so his heart was filled with ferocity. At this moment, as he continued to devour, he devoured half of the thunder spirit's body and completely crushed it into pieces. The snake-shaped thunder spirit let out a miserable cry and quickly retreated. With only half of its body left, its eyes were filled with madness. As it roared, even more thunder appeared in the 10,000 feet Thunder Lake. It was as if there was an extremely large amount of thunder under the 10,000 feet bluestone. The furious roars turned into thunderous roars, and the repeated collisions created shocking impacts. As the banging sounds echoed, they formed a violent storm that swept outwards. Large amounts of limestone crumbled and tumbled backwards, stirring up a cloud of dust. However, the moment the dust rose into the air, it immediately disintegrated. In fact, even the shattered limestone was instantly enveloped by the lightning and shattered into pieces. In the blink of an eye, aside from the bluestone Wang Lin was sitting on, all the bluestone within 10,000 feet collapsed. However, this storm didn't stop and continued to bombard the area. During this process, an enormous amount of lightning energy hidden deep underground surged out and charged straight for the lightning spirit. This scene was like divine retribution descending on the Thunder Celestial Temple. The expressions of the surrounding cultivators changed greatly, and they all retreated. Even the eyes of some of the ancestors shined brightly. As the storm spread out, the old monsters on the praying mats all stared at it. Master Flamespark wryly smiled as he raised his right hand and pressed down. The storm collided with his hand and disappeared 10,000 feet away. Just at this instant, when the endless force of thunder rushed into the thunder spirit, the ancient thunder dragon formed by Wang Lin's origin soul felt an impulse after devouring half of the thunder spirit. Wang Lin had never felt this kind of impulse before, but at this moment, the powerful force of thunder filled his origin soul. He could no longer endure this impulse. It was as if a force was going to rush out from his body and let out a roar. This roar was the first and only roar Wang Lin had ever let out since he turned into an ancient thunder dragon. It was as if this roar had penetrated the Thunder Celestial Temple and fused with the world. It became a thunderous roar that would forever exist in the world. At this moment, this roar was the roar of all thunder in the world, and all thunder had to listen to its command. The reason the ancient thunder dragon could use the power of thunder was because of this roar. Before, when Wang Lin devoured the ancient thunder dragon, he hadn't fused much with it, so he couldn't use the true power of the ancient thunder dragon. However, now that he had fused with half of the thunder spirit, he was finally able to condense this roar. Roar! With this roar, the world changed colors. The large amount of thunder that was gathering toward the thunder spirit trembled and changed directions. It was as if it was worshipping and shrouded the ancient thunder dragon formed by Wang Lin's origin soul. The expressions of the surrounding cultivators changed greatly. Even the old monsters on the praying mats were shocked. Even Blood God's eyes lit up and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. For the first time, Shimizu laughed and said, "Good! Ancient Thunder Dragon Origin Soul." Master Flamespark's eyes were filled with shock and the veins on his face bulged. He wanted to stand up and stop it, but after hesitating for a bit, he let out a sigh. With Shimizu here, he could only let Wang Lin devour. There was no reason for him to interfere. Otherwise, if he interrupted this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Su Mu, Shimizu would immediately become hostile. If these old monsters were like this, there was no need to talk about the others. Su Ting stared dumbfoundedly at all of this. A storm was set off in his heart and he began to ponder. Unless it is a last resort, it is best not to provoke him. Shengong, whose eyes were filled with excitement and he could no longer suppress it. As he looked at Wang Lin, the passion in his eyes became even stronger. Zhang Konglai was also startled for a moment. For the first time, his eyes were filled with reverence like Shengong Hu's. As for the big-headed boy and the six-fingered cultivator, their minds were shaken and their eyes were filled with terror. They made up their minds that this Su Mu couldn't be easily provoked. This person even dared to devour a thunder spirit, and with a roar, he made all the thunder in the Thunder Lake obey his command. This kind of spell made their scalps go numb. Not only did the lightning within 10,000 feet have to bow down, but even the lightning spirit began to tremble violently when it heard this voice that contained the power of the heavens and earth. It had no choice but to bow down, no choice but to submit. This was the power of the ancient thunder dragon. Endless thunder entered Wang Lin's origin soul. His origin soul rushed out and mercilessly devoured it. The half-thunder spirit didn't dare to resist and was devoured by Wang Lin. Before, Wang Lin's fusion with the ancient thunder dragon was only 1/5 complete. However, after devouring the thunder spirit and absorbing the endless thunder, it was as if a storm had erupted inside his origin soul. Thunderous rumbles echoed and the fusion rate increased like crazy. It had reached nearly 50%. The ancient thunder dragon's origin soul immediately expanded to 1,000 feet and a powerful pressure shrouded the world. His cold gaze swept the area before returning to Wang Lin's body. At this moment, all the remaining power of thunder within 10,000 feet shrank like crazy and gathered toward Wang Lin. As the thunder rumbled, Wang Lin opened his eyes. Thunder moved around his body, and the feeling of being able to control all the thunder in the world appeared in his heart. He stood up. The area 10,000 feet around Wang Lin was in ruins. There was no longer any power of thunder. Master Flamespark's expression was extremely ugly, and his heart ached inexplicably. He looked at Wang Lin and couldn't speak for a long time. In the end, he let out a sigh. The surroundings were completely silent. This kind of silence was exactly the same as when Shimizu killed Russell. Phew, I've finally finished writing. I'm begging for my monthly votes. Chapter 874. Wang Lin's body was covered in thunder, and as he moved forward, crisp, crackling sounds could be heard. He silently walked forward. The ground was broken, and when he stepped on it, there was a crunching sound. The moment he stepped out of the Thunder Lake, the cultivators that were competing for the title all subconsciously retreated. Their gazes toward Wang Lin were filled with fear. After a moment of silence, the surrounding cultivators began to talk. All of this was beyond their expectations. This Su Mu had left an unforgettable impression in the minds of the surrounding cultivators. Battling Luo Su in the human trial and devouring the Thunder Spirit in the Earth trial. This is not something an ordinary cultivator can do. I just don't know what Su Mu will do in the heaven trial. Master Demon Su Mu. He is indeed powerful. Today, I am completely convinced of the rumors from before. This person is definitely not a good person and cannot be provoked. This person will definitely be ranked third among the 108 celestials. Even the eyes of the old monsters on the praying mats lit up. There was a hint of admiration in their gazes toward Wang Lin. Their Luo Tian star system needed a junior like Wang Lin. The Xiang family elder nodded. The more he looked at Wang Lin, the more he admired him. He didn't care about the loss of the Thunder Celestial Temple. He just felt that this Su Mu fit the characteristics of his clan very well. There was a hint of killing intent around him. The two messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple in the sky were speechless and had long stopped beating the drum. They feared that if Su Mu persisted, even if they broke the drum, it would be useless. At this moment, the two of them looked at each other and revealed bitter smiles. However, when they looked at Wang Lin, there was no jealousy in their eyes, only a hint of admiration. Wang Lin turned a blind eye to all of this. After he flew out 10,000 feet, he clasped his hands at Master Flame's Park and respectfully said, "Junior made a mistake. I hope Senior won't mind." His words were similar to his senior brother Shimizu's. When the Shimizu Celestial Lord heard this, he smiled. Master Flame's Park laughed and said, "No problem. Using a mere Thunder Lake and a Thunder Spirit avatar to help a powerful junior of my Luo Tian star system become stronger is worth it. As for destroying the Thunder Lake, you just need to earn some merit in the Alliance star system to make up for it." As he spoke, he pointed his right hand forward. With this point, the world seemed to suddenly tremble. Endless Yuan power crazily whistled over and gathered in front of his finger. In an instant, it turned into a rune. This symbol was filled with powerful vitality. Wang Lin's pupils shrank. He clearly felt that there was a very weak sliver of source origin energy inside the symbol. Although it was only a sliver, it made the power of the symbol boundless. Master Flame's Park flicked his right hand and the symbol flew out and landed on the 10,000 feet of ruins. The moment the symbol landed, it turned into origin energy and spread out. The sliver of source origin energy fused with it, and the surrounding cultivators all exclaimed. It was as if time had reversed and all the stones on the ground began to reform. Even the shattered limestone that had already dissipated into dust appeared from nothingness at this moment. They gathered on the ground to form limestone once more. All of this was completed in the blink of an eye. The entire 10,000 feet wide bluestone floor was as good as new, just that there was no lightning. Wang Lin looked at all of this and seemed to understand something. Next is the last trial of the 3 trials, the Heaven Trial. As Master Flame's Park spoke, he turned toward the Zhan family's Li Yunzi and smiled. "Fellow cultivator Li Yunzi, please." Li Yunzi raised his right hand and reached at the void. A rift appeared in the void before him, and cold wind blew out. Li Yunzi's right hand reached into the rift and grabbed a scroll. This scroll was very ancient and gave off an ancient aura. After taking out the scroll, Li Yunzi threw it and the scroll flew forward. There was a flash of black light in the air, and it slowly opened, revealing the white scroll inside. There was only one word on the scroll: Battle. Although it was only a single word, it emitted a frightening killing intent. Anyone who saw it would immediately feel as if they were in the battlefield of Azura. The Zhan family's treasure, the Battle Scroll. One of the top 10 treasures of the Luo Tian star system. Only the Zhan family has the chance to see it. This time, it really broadened my horizons. It is this treasure. Rumor has it that the Zhan family originally wasn't surnamed Zhan, but their ancestor accidentally obtained the Battle Scroll. After painstakingly cultivating, they changed their surname to Zhan and became the Luo Tian Battle Clan. Bursts of discussion echoed. Li Yunzi's eyes were calm as he said, "The Heaven Trial will be presided over by the old man. His voice was calm as he casually waved his right hand. A gentle breeze blew by, and a few dozen of the cultivators who were fighting for titles were sent into the transfer array in the sky without any resistance. The transfer array flickered and disappeared. These people who were sent away were the first to give up in the second stage. At this moment, there were only 147 people left. The heaven trial is to comprehend for 10 breaths under the old man's battle scroll. After 10 breaths, there is no need to speak. The old man will know if you are qualified or not. Li Yunzi's words confused the surrounding cultivators. However, Li Yunzi's fame caused everyone to become silent. Li Yunzi looked at Zhang Konglai and slowly said, "Zhang Konglai, you go first. Obey the ancestors' order." Zhang Konglai took a deep breath and stepped forward. He stepped onto the green stone that had just formed and looked up at the motionless battle scroll in the air. He seemed to have fallen into a strange realm, as if he was being absorbed by the battle scroll. Wang Lin stared at Zhang Konglai, and a moment later, his expression became serious. Zhang Konglai stood there, and on the 8th breath, his divine sense seemed to split in half. One of them fused with the battle scroll. Just at this instant, an extremely weak source origin that was almost 100 times weaker than Master Flamesparks came out from the battle scroll and entered Zhang Konglia's body. However, on the 10th breath, it collapsed. It was as if Zhang Konglia's body couldn't contain this extremely weak source origin. This change was very difficult for ordinary cultivators to notice. If it wasn't for the fact that Wang Lin had seen the 3rd step in the heaven-defying bead, he wouldn't have been able to see through it. However, at this moment, what he saw set off a huge wave in his heart. This battle scroll actually contains source origin energy. Wang Lin gasped. Li Yunzi's voice was calm as he slowly said, "Zhang Konglai, qualified." After he spoke, Zhang Konglai awakened from his strange state. The moment he awakened, his body was covered in sweat and his face was pale. He took a few deep breaths, and it was as if he had just fought a great battle. He retreated a few steps and respectfully clasped his hands before retreating from the square rock. The surrounding cultivators, especially those that participated in the competition, didn't see through the mysteries inside. They all had different thoughts on why Zhang Konglai had passed so easily. Next, more people entered the square and looked up at the battle scroll. However, dozens of people entered, and 8 of them were sent into the transfer array by Li Yunzi with a wave of his sleeve. As a result, the surrounding cultivators were even more shocked. They couldn't see how Li Yunzi would evaluate the 3rd trial. The more Wang Lin looked, the more serious his eyes became. All the cultivators that were eliminated were unable to enter the scroll with their divine senses. It was as if the scroll had its own soul, and it had its own mysterious judgment on whether or not one could be accepted. Li Yunzi used this point to evaluate this trial. All those that passed were like Zhang Konglai. Their divine senses were accepted by the scroll, and a weak source origin energy appeared. However, none of them could keep the source origin energy inside their body. There was another point that Wang Lin found after observing. Most of the qualified cultivators barely managed to fuse with the battle scroll at the 9th and last breath. Few were like Zhang Konglai, who fused with the scroll at the 8th breath. Su Ting's eyes lit up. He seemed to have seen through some clues, but he wasn't sure. After pondering a bit, he stepped into the square rock and looked at the battle scroll. Li Yunzi looked at Su Ting. He had some impression of this junior, so he nodded but didn't speak. Su Ting's expression was serious as he looked at the battle scroll. His eyes revealed a strange light and a mass of black gas appeared between his eyebrows. It turned into a ball of black gas that began to rotate. On the 5th breath, a portion of his divine sense suddenly split off and was absorbed by the battle scroll. Wang Lin's pupils shrank and he thought, the 5th breath. This person didn't have the opportunity one did, but he was able to enter the state of cultivation on the 5th breath. His talent is simply too shocking. Li Yunzi's eyes shined brightly, and at this moment, he became very serious. He stared at Su Ting and secretly nodded. In the Zhan family, there were no more than 10 people who could enter the battle scroll in 5 breaths of time. These people had all cultivated under the battle scroll for a long time to reach 5 breaths of time. As for entering the state of cultivation so quickly after seeing the battle scroll for the first time, there were only 3 people in the Zhan family. This child is extraordinary. Li Yunzi's eyes revealed a rare hint of admiration. Not only Li Yunzi, but the other old monsters on the praying mats all saw through this. They knew that there was a mysterious force inside the Zhan family's treasure. The faster one entered the state of cultivation, the more likely they would be able to receive the inheritance of this power. However, very few of them knew that this power was the key to the 3rd step that they had been bitterly searching for. Master Flamespark's eyes revealed a strange light. He didn't look at the battle scroll but stared at Su Ting and pondered. This person has the talent. After 10 breaths of time, Su Ting suddenly became sober. At this moment, Wang Lin's eyes lit up an almost undetectable amount. He saw that the sliver of source origin energy that came from the battle scroll in Su Ting's body. There was actually a very small amount that remained inside Su Ting's body. This discovery shocked Wang Lin greatly. He was too clear on the effect of source origin energy. Perhaps Su Ting wouldn't notice anything in a short period of time, but once he reached the peak of the 2nd step, this sliver of source origin energy would have an unimaginable effect on him. This Su Ting from planet Donglin has an inexplicable hostility toward me. This person can't be allowed to live. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, but killing intent appeared in his heart. Su Ting had revealed killing intent toward him more than once. With Wang Lin's personality, he wouldn't allow Su Ting to have that sliver of source origin energy. Su Ting, qualified. Li Yunzi remembered Su Ting's name and nodded at him. After pondering a bit, he said, "There are a total of 3 battle scrolls. Once the passage to the Alliance star system is opened, you can come find me. The old man will let you see the 2nd one." After he spoke, many of the surrounding cultivators felt jealousy in their hearts, but they didn't show it on their faces. Su Ting looked at Li Yunzi. Even with his domineering personality, he still respectfully clasped his hands and said, "Thank you, Senior Li Yunzi." Even Zhan Konglai felt some jealousy in his heart. He knew that only a few dozen people in the family were qualified to see the 2nd scroll. As for the 3rd scroll, aside from the ancestor and the 2 elders, no one else had seen it. Su Ting nodded and respectfully retreated. He stood on the side and stared at Wang Lin with a gloomy gaze. Wang Lin looked back and coldly looked at Su Ting. He raised his foot and walked toward the green stone. There was a cultivator named Zhao Yidao behind Su Ting. He was about to enter the green stone, but when he saw Wang Lin's action, he immediately retreated and revealed an awkward expression. This person was the one that Russell pointed out during the battle between Wang Lin and Russell, but was swept away by Wang Lin with a wave of his sleeve. At this moment, he secretly cursed his bad luck and quickly retreated. The moment Wang Lin appeared, he immediately caught the attention of the surrounding cultivators. After all, during the celestial title competition, Wang Lin's name had shaken the world. He had battled Russell in the human trial and devoured the thunder spirit in the earth trial. All of the surrounding cultivators were looking forward to seeing how Su Mu would perform in the 3rd trial. This kind of anticipation was very strong. Even the ancestors of some cultivation families looked over. Not only did they remember the name Su Mu, they also deeply remembered Wang Lin's appearance. Aside from them, the dozen or so old monsters that were at the peak of the Luo Tian star system also looked over with smiles. Only Blood God let out a cold snort in his heart. After pondering for a bit, his gaze also fell on Wang Lin. Master Flamespark secretly smiled. He had a headache because of Wang Lin. No matter what, this junior was fated with him. Adding on his relationship with Shimizu, it was not good to beat him up. he had caused great losses to the Thunder Celestial Temple in the human and earth trials. Right now, Li Yunzi was in charge of the third trial, so even if there was an accident, the one to lose wouldn't be him but Li Yunzi. At this moment, he looked at Wang Lin with a hint of expectation. Wang Lin stepped onto the green stone and clasped his hands at Li Yunzi. He then looked up at the battle scroll in the air. Chapter 875. At first glance, the word battle on the painting looked extremely ordinary. However, if one looked closely, it was as if there was an unimaginably monstrous killing intent coming from the word battle that came crashing down like a mountain. At this moment, it was as if an illusion had appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. It was as if the world before him had collapsed and everything had disappeared. The 10,000-foot square, the surrounding cultivators, and even the Thunder Celestial Temple no longer existed. The only thing that remained was the word battle. Wang Lin only felt his body tremble, and he immediately entered a trance. It was as if a force had suddenly erupted from the word battle. It directly descended and absorbed his mind. It was as if his origin soul and body were separated by this force and no longer had any connection. The monstrous killing intent filled the air. Wang Lin felt like he was a mortal in the dead of winter without any clothes on. The coldness was bone-chilling, as if it was going to extinguish the fire of his life. At this moment, Wang Lin felt like he had returned to the past. The heaven-defying bead was complete and the door to the heavens appeared. The moment it opened, source energy suddenly appeared. The third eye appeared between his eyebrows and slowly opened, but no red light came out. At this moment, Wang Lin was motionless, but his mind trembled violently. The feeling he had when he faced the door to the heaven-defying bead echoed once more. However, compared to the feeling from back then, this feeling was several times weaker. Back then, Wang Lin only took one look and almost collapsed. Now, although he was shocked by the word battle, he could persist. It was obvious that the source energy contained in the word battle couldn't compare to the heaven-defying bead at all. For Wang Lin, the heaven-defying bead was too mysterious, but he could explore the word battle. All of this takes a long time, but in truth, it all happened the moment Wang Lin raised his head. It only took one breath of time. Li Yunzi originally wasn't optimistic about Wang Lin. In his view, although Su Mu was powerful enough to fight Russell, if it wasn't for Shimizu, the one who would lose would have been Su Mu. As for how Su Mu devoured the Thunder Spirit in the second trial, it was a coincidence. In general, luck was the most important factor. Li Yunzi had relied on his own strength to get to where he was now. The people he looked down on the most were those who relied on luck. In his eyes, Su Mu was one of them. However, at this moment, his eyes shined brightly and he took 3 steps forward. He stared at Wang Lin, and there seemed to be a roar in his heart. One breath. This Su Mu only used one breath to enter cultivation. Even with Li Yunzi's mental fortitude, his heart skipped a beat. Throughout the generations of the Zhan family, no one had been able to enter cultivation in one breath. Even the most talented ancestor had used 2 breaths. At this moment, Li Yunzi had already removed the image of Su Ting from his mind and replaced it with the image of Wang Lin. Not only him, but all the old monsters on the praying mats were shocked. Like Li Yunzi, they didn't care about Wang Lin's previous 2 trials. They only thought it was interesting, but now they all began to take him seriously. Blood God's pupils shrank as he stared at Wang Lin. While he was shocked, killing intent appeared in his heart. This child actually entered cultivation in one breath. He can't be allowed to live. Just as he was thinking this, he felt a killing intent lock onto him. He turned around and saw Shimizu coldly looking at him. Blood God let out a cold snort, but he suppressed his killing intent and hid it in the depths of his heart. Aside from Blood God, the ancestors of the other families with inheritances from the celestial realm all stared at Li Yunzi. The admiration in the Xiang family ancestors' eyes became even stronger. The more he looked at Wang Lin, the more he liked him. He thought, this child is not an ordinary person. Master Flamespark revealed a smile. He looked at the shocked Li Yunzi and his smile became even stronger. Zhang Konglai knew about the matters of the family. When he saw Wang Lin enter cultivation in one breath, he sucked in a breath of cold air and froze in place. As for Su Ting, he frowned and felt very complicated. He was a proud son of heaven, but he didn't expect his limelight to be stolen by Su Mu in the human trial. He was far inferior in the earth trial. He had obtained Li Yunzi's praise in the heaven trial, but he didn't expect it to all disappear in an instant. It was as if this Su Mu was his nemesis. Wang Lin's entire mind was split into two and entered the word battle. He immediately felt a sliver of source origin slowly enter his body. Just as he was about to withdraw it, he suddenly stopped. This sliver of source origin charged toward the spot between Wang Lin's eyebrows like crazy. It fused into his third eye between his eyebrows. Instantly, his third eye shone with a bright red light. As strands of source origin entered, Wang Lin's third eye became even more dazzling. 10 breaths of time passed in a flash. When Wang Lin became sober on the 10th breath, the red light in his third eye seemed to erupt after being suppressed and shot out in the shape of a fan. With a flash of red light, all the cultivators who saw this let out cries of surprise. The fan-shaped red light spread out and completely enveloped the scroll with the word battle written on it. In a trance, Wang Lin vaguely saw a strange scene from the scroll. It was a distant star system, and an old man in white was drawing the word battle with his right index finger. The word battle trembled and split into 6 parts, forming the 6 scrolls. Dense origin energy radiated from the old man. He looked at the word with a sliver of melancholy, regret, and reluctance. He looked at the word reluctantly before raising his head and looking at the starry sky. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Wang Lin's body trembled and the red light in his third eye disappeared. He became sober. What happened just now was something he had seen through the spell of his third eye after establishing a connection with the scroll. It felt like an illusion, but it was so real. When the red light disappeared, Wang Lin's third eye gradually closed, but it didn't dissipate. It seemed to be eternal as it turned into a red line that solidified between Wang Lin's eyebrows. At this moment, Wang Lin gave off a strange feeling. You saw it. Li Yunzi took a step and instantly arrived before Wang Lin. He stared at Wang Lin, and there was a hint of excitement in his voice. Wang Lin silently pondered and nodded. He could clearly feel that the red line between his eyebrows contained a power that made even him feel fear. At this moment, he felt a stabbing pain, as if this power didn't want to stay and was about to erupt. Li Yunzi stared at Wang Lin, and after a long time, he laughed and said, Good. Su Mu, after the celestial bestowment is over, come find me. The old man will show you the remaining 2 scrolls. Tomorrow at the 3rd hour, asking for monthly votes. It was already the middle of the month, and everyone had tickets, so there was no need to wait. He Bun shouted, Gen, the old man will gift you a fortune. Chapter 876. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, but his heart skipped a beat. In the illusion, he clearly saw 6 battle scrolls. Wang Lin's expression didn't change as he respectfully clasped his hands. Thank you, Senior Li Yunzi. Li Yunzi laughed and carefully looked at Wang Lin. He waved his sleeves and a person came back to continue the heaven trial. Wang Lin turned around and walked out of the square. He sat down in an open space and didn't look at the gazes of the surrounding cultivators. Instead, he quietly cultivated. As he cultivated, he could clearly feel the stabbing pain between his eyebrows. A feeling that he couldn't control appeared in his heart. Wang Lin vaguely understood that the third eye had undergone a shocking change after absorbing the source origin energy. Whether this change was good or bad, he didn't know. However, one thing was certain. If he allowed the stabbing pain between his eyebrows to continue, once the power rushed out of his body and went out of control, he would suffer a backlash. He took a deep breath, and as he operated his mind, he condensed annihilation heart restriction seals in his body. He continued to imprint them, and they gradually turned into 3 seals that sealed the space between his eyebrows. However, the power of the third eye was too strong, so the seal could only temporarily alleviate the pain. If it was going to last, he would have to reinforce it every once in a while. Although this was the case, Wang Lin didn't find it troublesome. No matter what, the spell inside the third eye will be my ace in the hole. After Wang Lin, more cultivators began to attempt the third trial. 2 incense sticks of time quickly passed, and all the cultivators finished the third trial. Li Yunzi's right hand reached out and the battle scroll landed in his hand. As he turned around, a gust of wind came from his body and swept the area. Anyone who didn't pass was sent into the transfer array in the sky and left. Of the 147 people, only 112 were left at this moment. When Li Yunzi returned to the praying mat, Master Flamespark's gaze swept past the 112 people. His eyes were like torches as he slowly said, "The 3 trials have passed. Those that remain are the best of the younger generation in my Luo Tian star system. Next is to enter the 6 realms of reincarnation to test your Tao intent. However, since the number of people here is close, the 6 realms of reincarnation will be cancelled and you can directly enter One-Line Heaven. One-Line Heaven is the last trial of the Celestial Title competition. The person with the highest number of kills will be the number 1 Celestial among the 108 Celestials. The first 36 will be the Heaven Celestials. In this trial, all of you are just illusions. Even if you die, it will only cause a slight injury to your original bodies, so it won't have much of an impact." After Master Flamespark finished speaking, he slapped his bag of holding and an octagonal piece of wood appeared in his hand. He threw it out and the octagonal piece of wood grew infinitely until it was more than 100 feet wide. It gave off bursts of 5-colored light and floated in the sky. Enter the 10,000 feet square. With a roar from Master Flamespark, the 112 cultivators all walked into the square and sat down. Shortly after, Master Flamespark sent out a seal and the 5-colored light from the octagonal piece of wood landed on the bodies of the 112 cultivators inside the square. The moment the 5-colored light entered their bodies, all the cultivators, including Wang Lin, felt their minds tremble and they lost consciousness. This was an extremely dense jungle with towering trees. The endless branches and leaves intersected like a giant net that isolated this place from the sky. Only through the gaps would strands of sunlight enter. At a glance, it was as if pillars of light were descending from the sky. It was very strange. There were many rotten leaves on the ground, and there were even some poisonous insects wriggling around to avoid the light pillars. It was a very shocking sight. The surroundings weren't quiet. There was the rustling sound of the leaves rubbing against each other and the hissing sound of the poisonous insects moving on the ground. In addition to all of this, there were occasional heart-palpitating roars coming from the distance. Just at this moment, there was a flash of 5-colored light from one of the towering trees and Wang Lin's figure appeared. The moment he appeared, he jumped into the air and landed on a branch. His eyes were like lightning as he used the heart restriction spell to hide all of his aura. Wang Lin had been tempered by life and death situations for a long time. This so-called one line to the sky couldn't even compare to the demon spirit land for him. Now that he appeared, he naturally wouldn't make the big mistake of spreading out his divine sense. At this moment, a divine sense came from the distance. It didn't stop around Wang Lin and continued to spread. However, just at this moment, the divine sense that spread out panicked and quickly shrank. In an instant, the divine sense collapsed and a miserable scream came from the distance. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. If you don't have absolute strength, you can't spread out your divine sense here. otherwise, others will immediately find out where you are and kill you. Wang Lin pondered a bit as the origin energy inside his body cycled, and he observed his own body. He was able to find some clues. It was indeed as Master Flamespark had said, there was an avatar here. Although everything was the same as the original body, the death of the avatar wouldn't affect the original body much. There won't be a true slaughter in one line to the sky. It will certainly allow many cultivators without much experience to experience a life and death test here. I fear this is the true purpose of the Thunder Celestial Temple, to raise real cultivators. Wang Lin frowned and tried to use spatial bending. However, this wasn't the real world, so it had no effect. While pondering, his body flickered and he disappeared. The 3 trials of heaven, earth, and man are only trials. Only this one line to the sky is the real battle for the title. There is no good or evil here. If you want to get first, you must kill the most. As Wang Lin moved, there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Just at this moment, another divine sense appeared in the distance and scanned the area. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he immediately flew over. He was very fast, and in an instant, he saw the cultivator that spread out the divine sense. This person was Zhao Yidao, who had been interrupted by Wang Lin twice. When he appeared, he was very confused about his surroundings. Due to his family's method of cultivation, he subconsciously spread out his divine sense to observe his surroundings. However, the moment his divine sense spread out, he felt a powerful sense of danger. This caused his face to turn pale, and he knew he had committed a big mistake. He immediately wanted to leave, but at that moment, a black mist whistled by behind him. It brought with it an extremely dense killing intent and instantly devoured Zhao Yidao's fleeing figure. A miserable scream echoed and Wang Lin stopped. He stood 1,000 feet away and coldly stared at the black fog. The fog moved as if it wanted to devour the cultivator named Zhao. A moment later, a person walked out from the black fog. This person was Su Ting. He licked his lips and stared at Wang Lin. The two of them stared at each other from 1,000 feet away. How about we leave our battle until the end? Su Ting was very afraid of Wang Lin. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he didn't want to provoke Wang Lin. Wang Lin coldly looked at Su Ting before turning around and disappearing. Compared to killing Su Ting, the most important thing right now was to kill enough. Su Ting let out a sigh of relief. He retreated into the fog and quickly left in another direction. It was as if this place had become a boundary between the two of them. They didn't want to offend each other. Wang Lin didn't bother to search for them one by one. Instead, he found a tree and sat down. His divine sense spread out and swept the world. The moment his divine sense spread out, more than 10 people's divine senses erupted and charged at Wang Lin. Here, even if you don't kill others, others will come to kill you. Wang Lin opened his mouth and spat out an item. This item was the celestial sealing stamp. This small stamp floated before Wang Lin and gave off bursts of golden light. Back then, 2 of the hundreds of thousands of runes each sealed a cultivator's origin soul. Their power is obviously different. I wonder if I can seal an illusory origin soul clone here. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he waited for the first person to die. A few breaths later, a figure moved like lightning from the right side of the forest. However, when the figure was about 1,000 feet away, it suddenly trembled. When it saw that the person it was going to kill was Wang Lin, its eyes were filled with terror. Without any hesitation, it tried to escape. From beginning to end, Wang Lin's expression was as calm as water. When the cultivator closed in, the celestial sealing stamp charged out. It was too fast and chased after the escaping cultivator. The cultivator panicked and his hands formed a seal, causing spells to appear. However, when these spells landed on the celestial sealing stamp, there was no resistance at all. In an instant, the celestial sealing stamp closed in on the cultivator and mercilessly smashed down. At the same time, A large amount of golden runes appeared and sealed off the cultivator's path of retreat. The cultivator's eyes were filled with despair. He slapped his bag of holding and hundreds of flying swords appeared. He wanted to resist, but after a series of thunderous rumbles, the flying swords all collapsed. The celestial sealing stamp landed and a miserable groan echoed. The moment the cultivator dissipated, a golden rune appeared and entered the dissipating cultivator's body. A moment later, the golden rune was filled with intelligence and entered the celestial sealing stamp. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he put away the celestial sealing stamp. After carefully observing for a bit, he slowly raised his head and calmly asked, "How long do you all want to wait to attack?" The forest before him was completely silent. A moment later, 4 people walked out. All 4 of them were at the corporeal yang stage. When they fused together, they seemed to form an aura that could rival Wang Lin's. The 4 of them looked at each other, and one of them had a flash of ferocity in his eyes. Without a word, he slapped his bag of holding and a gourd appeared in his hand. His right hand formed a seal and the gourd spat out a red flame toward Wang Lin. Chapter 1, Continue to write. Chapter 877. The 3 people beside him also clenched their teeth. If they didn't act now, they wouldn't have a chance to live. One of them formed a seal, and the surrounding vegetation began to grow like crazy toward Wang Lin. Another person opened his mouth and spat out a black bead. It gave off a fishy smell, and quickly closed in on Wang Lin. The last cultivator formed a seal and more than 100 puppets appeared. They filled the sky and attacked Wang Lin. However, just at this moment, the eyes of the cultivator that released the gourd lit up and he quickly retreated. However, the moment he retreated, the other 3 also retreated with the same intention. The 4 of them quickly escaped from 4 different directions. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the celestial sealing stamp appeared. All of the attacks before him collapsed before the celestial sealing stamp that was 100 feet wide. The celestial sealing stamp flew out and chased after one of the 4 people. There was a thunderous bang as the celestial sealing stamp charged toward another person. Hundreds of thousands of golden runes filled the sky, and 4 of them were filled with spirituality. Wang Lin stared at the 4 golden runes that were extremely special. His eyes lit up and a bold idea appeared in his mind. If I combine the 1 billion soul flag with the celestial sealing stamp. Wang Lin's heart skipped a beat. Thunderous rumbles echoed and a moment later, the celestial sealing stamp returned. The number of runes filled with spirituality had increased from 4 to 7. Grabbing the celestial sealing stamp, Wang Lin's body flickered and he disappeared. Shingong, whose face was pale as he quickly ran through the forest. The moment he appeared, he was locked onto by a powerful killing intent. If it wasn't for his fast reaction, he would have dissipated the moment he appeared. Even so, he was still injured while dodging. His face was pale as he tried to escape. Behind him, the big-headed boy quickly chased after him. The silly smile on his face was still there as he stared at Shingong Hu. His smile was cold as he raised his right hand. There was a flash of purple light and he threw it forward. The purple light turned into a purple ant several dozen feet tall. This ant was extremely ferocious. After it appeared, it let out a roar and its pincers charged forward. Its speed was far faster than Shingong Hu's and it mercilessly clamped down on Shingong Hu. The big-headed boy's smile became even colder. It was as if he could see the cultivator before him being torn in half by the dark heavenly ant. The big-headed boy muttered to himself, "Unfortunately, I can't open my bag of holding here. Otherwise, I could take out a treasure to capture this person's origin soul and I wouldn't need to release the dark heavenly ant." At this moment of crisis, Shingong Hu's eyes lit up. He turned around and spat out a fist-sized ball of thunder toward the ant. The moment the ball of thunder appeared, it shot toward the ant. However, the difference in cultivation levels between the 2 sides was too great. The moment the ball of thunder closed in on the ant, it was clamped down by the ant's pincers and collapsed. A thunderous rumble echoed. Under the powerful impact, the giant ant completely ignored it and charged out. Its pincers gave off a cold aura as it mercilessly clamped down on Shengong Hu. Shengong Hu let out a miserable smile. From the moment he appeared until now, only half an incense stick of time had passed. He hadn't even killed a single person before he was about to leave the battlefield. However, just at this moment, Shengong Hu's eyes were filled with joy. He felt a familiar aura suddenly closing in. There was a flash of golden light and a cold voice echoed across the world. Seal! The moment he said this, the golden runes in the world condensed and surrounded Shengong Hu. With a bang, the ant's pincers clamped down on the golden runes. The golden runes flashed and countless golden runes fused to form a golden storm. As it swept by, the dark heavenly ant trembled and quickly retreated. The silly smile on the big-headed boy's face immediately froze as he stared ahead. His expression became gloomy and he retreated without hesitation. He saw Wang Lin walk out from the forest behind Shengong Hu. The celestial ceiling stamp floated before him and gave off a soft, golden glow. "My lord!" Shengong Hu's face was filled with fervor and respect. Wang Lin nodded slightly. His gaze swept past the big-headed boy and he coldly said, "You want to run?" With one step, he crossed hundreds of feet and the celestial ceiling stamp shot out. The big-headed boy's cultivation level was the same as Wang Lin's, early-stage Nirvana Scryer. He had witnessed Wang Lin's rise in the 3 trials, so he dreaded Wang Lin a lot and didn't want to provoke Wang Lin at all. "Fellow Sumu, I'll just leave this place. There's no need to kill me. Our cultivation levels are similar. If we fight, even if you can win, you'll be injured. Don't give Su Ting a chance." The big-headed boy had already put away the silly smile on his face. Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he stepped out and raised his right hand. The heavenly chop entered his hand and he mercilessly chopped down. The big-headed boy's expression changed greatly. The dark heavenly ant let out a roar and blocked before him. However, the moment the heavenly chop closed in, it collapsed. The celestial ceiling stamp trembled and a golden rune landed on the collapsed dark heavenly ant. There was a flash of golden light and the rune was filled with intelligence. The big-headed boy's face was deathly pale as he quickly retreated. His hand formed a seal and he ferociously said, "Celestial spell, encompass." After he spoke, a ripple spread out. As the ripple spread out, the world changed. Various fierce beasts appeared and let out roars filled with killing intent as they charged at Wang Lin. "I'll use you to test how I exercise my power of thunder." Wang Lin's voice was like the cold winter wind. When it entered the big-headed boy's ears, his body trembled. Thinking about how Wang Lin had devoured the thunder spirit in the earth trial, the big-headed boy felt bitter in his heart. After using a spell, he quickly retreated. At this moment, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly changed. A thunder intent that could make people tremble began to gather in his eyes like crazy. "All the thunder in the world is under my control." Wang Lin didn't look at the big-headed boy but looked up at the sky. The ancient thunder dragon Origin's soul rushed out and let out a roar. Roar! The roar of the ancient thunder dragon using its power of thunder echoed across the world once more. That roar was like thunder that could split the heavens and earth. As it rumbled, it turned into a ripple that shocked all the cultivators in the battlefield. The entire battlefield trembled as if there was an earthquake. The sky turned upside down and the sun and moon flipped. Su Ting was inside the black fog chasing after a cultivator. He had a grin on his face and was about to devour the cultivator. However, at this moment, he heard the roar that sounded like ancient thunder and felt the battlefield tremble. The black fog around him collapsed and he was forced out. His face was filled with terror as he stared into the distance. As for the escaping cultivator, he coughed out a large mouthful of blood. His face was pale and he felt like the sky was collapsing. He was crushed to the ground by this roar. In the forest, the six-fingered cultivator was hiding in a towering tree, waiting for the passing cultivators. He had been waiting for them to come, but it was at this moment that the sound of thunder filled the air. The blood drained from his face, and he felt as if some sort of power had entered his soul, forcing him out of his hiding place. He looked off into the distance, filled with terror. This is the roar of Su-Mu from the Earth Trial. Zhang Konglai was wandering in the jungle when he heard the roar. His body trembled, and he immediately sat down to cultivate. A moment later, his eyes lit up and his face was filled with ecstasy as he charged toward the source of the roar. At that moment, all the cultivators in the battlefield could sense the terrifying sound of thunder. It was as if the sky and earth were about to collapse. That was especially true of the sky. At that moment, the sky suddenly changed. Numerous bolts of lightning, each several dozen meters long, were like dragons made of electricity as they madly converged toward the distance. The earth trembled violently as if it was the end of the world. Not only was the battlefield like this, but in the outside world, inside the Thunder Celestial Temple, the octagonal piece of wood in the sky began to tremble. Rays of lightning appeared out of nowhere and moved around the piece of wood. A large amount of lightning condensed in the sky. It was as if all the lightning in the world had been summoned and was gathering to worship it. Master Flamespark suddenly stood up and stared at the octagonal piece of wood. His expression was gloomy as his hands formed a seal and placed down countless seals. Only then did the octagonal piece of wood gradually stop trembling. At this moment, all the surrounding cultivators began to speculate in their hearts. After the roar, the ancient thunder dragon origin soul between Wang Lin's eyebrows returned to his body. Endless thunder gathered around Wang Lin's body and the surrounding area became a thunder hell. Popping sounds echoed as large amounts of towering trees collapsed and turned into balls of fire that shot into the sky. At this moment, Wang Lin's eyes were filled with thunder and countless bolts of lightning moved around his body. He had a feeling that he was the lord of all thunder. Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed at the big-headed boy, who was escaping like crazy and had almost lost his soul. Thunder, extinguish! The thunderous rumbles were heaven shaking. Under Wang Lin's command, all the surrounding thunder charged at the big-headed boy. If one were to look from above, they would see that the thunder within thousands of kilometers suddenly shrank, and the center of the shrinkage was the big-headed boy. The shrinkage was too fast, and in an instant all the thunder condensed. The big-headed boy's eyes were filled with despair. He had the illusion that he was facing all the thunder in the world. The moment this despair appeared, all the thunder within thousands of kilometers fused with him. There was a thunderous bang that caused the entire battlefield to tremble once more. The big-headed boy's body turned into a ball of fire and flew into the air without a trace remaining. Chapter 878. At this moment, all the cultivators in the battlefield looked up at the slowly dissipating thunder and fire in the distance. Their hearts were filled with fear. Is this Master Demon's spell? Too terrifying. If I meet this person, I will without a doubt die. With my strength, it is impossible for me to resist him. This kind of spell is unheard of and earth-shattering. Su Ting stared dumbfoundedly at this and clenched his fist. However, he didn't notice that his fist was trembling slightly. Inside the Thunder Celestial Temple, the big-headed boy suddenly opened his eyes and coughed out a large mouthful of blood. His body immediately weakened and his expression became ferocious. He suddenly stood up and looked around. His eyes were startled and then filled with horror. No, Master Flamespark shouted, "Sit down." The big-headed boy's body trembled and he quickly sat down. His heart pounded and a huge wave was set off in his mind. He originally wanted to go all out and find Wang Lin's original body for revenge. However, when he looked around, he found that there were only 108 people sitting here. 4 people were missing. Could it be that 4 people didn't enter with their avatars but with their original bodies? The big-headed boy's scalp went numb, and he secretly rejoiced that he wasn't one of the 4 that entered with their original bodies. Thinking about this, he broke out in cold sweat and felt extremely scared. No wonder I can't open the bag of holding. Only treasures that have their origin souls fused with them can be used. The big-headed boy took a deep breath. The lingering fear in his heart was still there. Inside the battlefield, there was a flash of golden light and a rune appeared and entered the celestial sealing stamp. This rune had absorbed the dissipated avatar of the big-headed boy and was filled with intelligence. Wang Lin withdrew the celestial sealing stamp and looked at Shen Gong who was still in a daze. He slapped his bag of holding, took out some pills, and handed them to Shen Gong Hu. I need to find a secluded place to meditate. Shen Gong Hu took the pill and was about to swallow it when his eyes suddenly narrowed. He looked at Wang Lin's bag of holding with a strange expression. After hesitating for a bit, he asked, "My lord, you can open the bag of holding?" Wang Lin was taken aback, and his eyes immediately darkened. Hundreds of thoughts flashed through his mind. With his intelligence, he only needed a single sentence from the other party to understand the situation. "You can't open it?" Wang Lin looked at Shen Gong Hu gloomily. Shen Gong Hu nodded. In front of Wang Lin, he inserted his divine sense into the bag of holding and patted it, but there was no reaction. Wang Lin was silent. Without saying anything, he turned around and left. Shen Gong Hu had his own speculations. After a moment of hesitation, he obeyed Wang Lin's orders and searched for a place to hide. As Wang Lin walked through the massacre battlefield, his lips curled into a cold smile. What a great slaughtering battlefield! There's reality within the illusion, and there's an illusion within reality. Master Flamespark was indeed cunning. Admirable. Of the 112 people that entered, aside from the 108, there are still 4 left. Before, I killed 2 people that had bags of holding. Aside from me, there is still 1 more person. I just don't know who the last unlucky person is. As Wang Lin walked, his divine sense spread out without hesitation. Whenever he detected a cultivator, he would immediately rush over. Along the way, Wang Lin showed no mercy. This was the slaughtering battlefield. Since he had chosen to come here, he was prepared to kill and be killed. Even if he died, it wouldn't be a true death. Along the way, any cultivator Wang Lin encountered would find it difficult to escape. However, before Wang Lin attacked, he would check if the other person's bag of holding could be opened. If he couldn't, then he would attack. The same slaughter was happening on the other side. Su Ting turned back into mist and devoured everything in his path. In the end, many cultivators would kill themselves after obtaining a spot in the slaughtering battlefield. They wouldn't give their spot to others. Time gradually passed. There were fewer and fewer cultivators left in the slaughtering battlefield. Wang Lin's situation was a bit better. If a cultivator committed suicide, Wang Lin wouldn't act. He would silently use the golden talisman to collect the cultivator's avatar the moment they died. However, Su Ting was filled with ruthlessness. Even if he wanted to commit suicide, if he was too slow, he wouldn't be able to escape the fate of being devoured. There was also night in the slaughtering battlefield. When night fell, there were only a few people left in the slaughtering battlefield. Wang Lin's divine sense spread out as he walked toward Su Ting. Su Ting was the person he had to kill, especially the sliver of source origin inside Su Ting. When Wang Lin saw Su Ting, he noticed its existence, so he wouldn't let it go. Su Ting's divine sense also spread out and locked onto Wang Lin. His body flickered and he charged toward Wang Lin. All the cultivators in his area had died, leaving him alone. His speed became faster and faster. He was like a ray of light and a powerful killing intent surged. In the end, it was monstrous. Su Mu! A roar came out of Su Ting's mouth, and it was earth-shattering. Wang Lin's gaze was calm as he rose into the air and looked at Su Ting closing in. Black fog surrounded Su Ting and gathered behind him to form a giant devil shadow. It let out a soundless roar and charged toward Wang Lin. I hope the last person to open the bag of holding is him. Killing intent appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. Su Ting's speed became even faster. As he charged, he created a series of sonic booms as he charged toward Wang Lin. There was a heaven-shaking rumble. The moment Su Ting closed in, the devil shadow behind him opened its mouth and tried to devour Wang Lin. The celestial ceiling stamp before Wang Lin became 1,000 feet long. The runes on it shined brightly and a large amount of golden light lit up the night. The two of them began a huge battle in the sky. On the ground, Shengong who walked out from his hiding place and stood at the top of a tree. He stared at the battle in the distance. Just at this moment, a hand suddenly patted his shoulder. Shengong, who was terrified and immediately rushed forward. Just as he was about to use a spell, he heard a chuckle. Don't be nervous. In truth, when you suddenly ran forward, you also scared me. Nangong Han let out a mischievous laugh and sat down where Shengong who was. He looked at the fierce battle in the sky and sighed. To be able to enjoy such a spectacular battle at night is one of life's greatest joys. As he spoke, he slapped his bag of holding, took out a jug of wine, and drank a mouthful. Shengong, who stared at Nangong Han's bag of holding before withdrawing his gaze and sitting down on a tree not far away. Nangong Han took a big gulp of wine and said with a depressed expression, "Hee, I was discovered by you. There's nothing I can do about it. This old man is unlucky to come here with my original body. Fortunately, this old man found out early, or else I would have fought like an idiot and accidentally lost my life. That would have been a waste, so this old man found a place to hide and waited until it was over before running out. This way I'm safe." In the distance, the six-fingered cultivator was also sitting on a tree. He silently watched the battle in the sky, but there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. "You two strongest cultivators, fight. Only then will I have a chance." He licked his lips and sneered. Su Ting's devilish shadow and Wang Lin's celestial ceiling stamp collided, creating a heaven-shaking rumble. This caused the entire land of slaughter to tremble violently. In an instant, Su Ting's body was forced back several dozen feet. The shadow behind him quickly retreated after Su Ting. Wang Lin retreated 30 feet. His expression was calm, but his killing intent was revealed. As Su Ting retreated, his hands formed a seal and endless origin energy filled his body. The black vortex between his eyebrows rotated even faster and he shouted, "Snake devour." After he said that, the demonic shadow behind him moved and turned into a 1,000-foot-long snake. It let out a roar and charged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin had seen this spell before, so he knew how powerful it was. He raised his right hand, formed a seal, and said, "Call the wind." Black wind came from Wang Lin's right hand and filled the world. It turned into two ferocious black dragons that charged at the snake. The two dragons immediately collided and devoured each other. However, Call the Wind was a celestial emperor's ability. The moment the serpent swallowed the black dragon, it let out a painful roar. Its body expanded infinitely before collapsing with a bang. At the instant the snake's body shattered, the black dragon it had devoured appeared. The two dragons intertwined and charged towards Su Ting. Su Ting's right hand formed a seal and pointed to between his eyebrows. He shouted, "Mountain descent!" A black fog burst out from the back of his head, forming a thick fog behind him. It immediately filled the sky and turned into a huge black mountain. This mountain covered the world as if it had replaced the sky. It moved with Su Ting and pressed down on Wang Lin like crazy. Wang Lin's expression was still calm as he stared at Su Ting. The killing intent in his eyes became even stronger. As the black dragon charged out, he raised his right hand and placed it between his eyebrows. At this moment, he no longer wanted to waste time with Su Ting. "Third seal, open!" Wang Lin's voice was calm, but there was a hint of coldness in it. The red line between his eyebrows instantly extended to the sides. His third eye suddenly began to emit an unimaginable red light. This red light took the shape of a fan and spread out in all directions. The terrifying power sealed by Wang Lin also erupted with 1/3 of its power after one of the 3 seals was opened and fused with the red light. The moment the black mountain pressed down, it was enveloped by the red light. In an instant it disintegrated layer by layer. In just half a breath's time, it turned into black gas and disappeared into thin air. Su Ting's eyes were filled with fear. A powerful sense of danger that he had never felt before shrouded his body. He quickly retreated, but it was too late. After the red light disintegrated the black mountain, it landed on Su Ting as Wang Lin turned around. Su Ting only felt his body tremble, as if there were tens of thousands of thunder roaring inside his body. Everything before him disappeared, and even the buzzing in his ears couldn't cover his racing heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. His heartbeat reached its limit as if it was going to explode. The blood and origin energy in his body moved like crazy, almost out of his control. The black fog between his eyebrows let out a roar as if it wanted to charge out of his body. What kind of spell is this? Su Ting's body was covered in sweat and his clothes were soaked. However, at this moment, he couldn't move at all under the red light. It was as if there was a force that was locking him in place. Endless panic drowned him like a tide. This power roared inside the red light and rushed into his body. He could clearly feel his body disintegrating layer by layer under the red light. First, it was his skin, flesh, blood, and bones. They all collapsed as if they had returned to their origin. Next, it was his origin soul that devolved into a nascent soul. It devolved once more into a golden core, and when it devolved once more, it was the golden core that exploded and turned into primitive spiritual energy. Things weren't over yet. His spiritual power collapsed again, and he let out a despairing scream. Then, with a bang, his entire existence was completely and utterly destroyed. Even the sliver of origin energy inside his avatar was pulled out and disappeared into the red light. When the red light disappeared, Wang Lin revealed an extremely tired expression. He immediately landed on a tree and sat down to seal the power between his eyebrows. This strange scene caused Nangong Han, who was drinking in the distance, to spit out the wine in his mouth. His eyes were filled with terror. "I can't beat him," Shengong, who took a deep breath and looked at Wang Lin. That red light just now caused the figure that made him completely submit to Wang Lin back in the Thunder Lake to reappear. The six-fingered cultivator's eyes were filled with terror, but at the same time, a flash of killing intent appeared in his eyes. He charged out toward Wang Lin. He must be injured right now, so this is the best time to kill him. Once I kill Demon Master Sumu, even if it's just killing his avatar, my name will be known throughout the Luo Tian continent. The six-fingered cultivator moved like lightning with his heart pounding. He raised his right hand and a dazzling blue light appeared on his sixth finger. He was too fast and closed in on Wang Lin in an instant. Shengong, whose expression changed. He wanted to rush out, but it was too late. Nangong Han suddenly stood up and stepped out. Just as the six-fingered cultivator closed in on Wang Lin opened his eyes, revealing a cold, killing intent. Scram! That one word transformed into boundless thunder. Rumbling sounds could be heard as boundless lightning bolts suddenly appeared in the sky, descending madly upon the six-fingered cultivator. The six-fingered cultivator's expression changed greatly. With just one word from Wang Lin, it was as if countless bolts of lightning had exploded in his mind. Wang Lin's fame was too deep in his heart. Before he even attacked, his Dao heart was filled with fear. At this moment, his eyes were filled with terror and he didn't dare to attack at all. He quickly retreated. Thunder descended, descending madly as he retreated. The six-fingered cultivator groaned inwardly and struggled desperately, but more and more lightning bolts descended. In the end, they seemed to connect together like a heavenly tribulation. 3 nights for a total of 10,000. Ask for monthly vote. Chapter 879. The Six-Fingered Cultivator was terrified. Thunder continued to rumble as he retreated like crazy. However, just as he continued to retreat, Wang Lin stood up and took a step forward. When he took a step forward, there was a flash of lightning under his feet. This sound was extremely ear-piercing, and it caused Wang Lin's aura to increase. In an instant, he caught up to the Six-Fingered Cultivator. His 2 fingers formed a sword and he pointed forward. Lightning gathered from all directions and shot toward the Six-Fingered Cultivator. As the lightning descended, the Six-Fingered Cultivator's face turned pale. His hands formed a seal to resist, but Wang Lin's finger instantly absorbed all the surrounding lightning. It turned into a bolt of eternal thunder that charged out. It broke through all spells and directly entered the Six-Fingered Cultivator's body. It turned into a storm of lightning that tore apart his body and shattered his origin soul. The Six-Fingered Cultivator let out a miserable groan as all the origin energy in his body leaked out. With a bang, his body completely collapsed. The golden rune flashed and a golden rune fused with the Six-Fingered Cultivator. After absorbing it, it was filled with intelligence and returned to the celestial sealing stamp. All of this happened in an instant. The moment the Six-Fingered Cultivator launched his sneak attack, he was killed by Wang Lin. Wang Lin's face was slightly pale. The seal between his eyebrows gradually closed and his third eye turned into a line. He turned around and stared at Nangong Han, who had appeared 100 feet away. "You also want to fight me?" Nangong Han's expression was serious as he carefully looked at Wang Lin. A moment later, he laughed and shook his head. "I can't beat you. In truth, I came out to help you deal with that sneak attack." Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and sat down cross-legged to the side to cultivate. At this moment, clouds gathered in the sky and a 5-colored light appeared. The light split into 3 parts and surrounded Wang Lin, Nangong Han, and Shengong Hu. Shengong Hu's body trembled and he disappeared into the 5-colored light. Only Wang Lin and Nangong Han were pulled into the sky by the 5-colored light. This time, Wang Lin didn't lose consciousness. He personally saw a crack appear in the sky and his body was pulled into it. His vision blurred, and when it became clear, he saw the 10,000-foot-tall blue rock on the ground and the surrounding cultivators. Wang Lin's body flickered and he landed on the ground. Nangong Han landed at almost the same time as him. At this moment, the 108 cultivators on the 10,000-foot-tall blue rock had awakened. Su Ting's expression was extremely gloomy as he silently stared at Wang Lin. There was also the Six-Fingered Cultivator. He also looked at Wang Lin with a vicious gaze. Master Flamespark had a smile on his face as he stood up and slowly said, "My Thunder Celestial Temple will confer 108 Celestials." As he spoke, his right hand reached at the void. The Thunder Celestial Temple suddenly trembled, and a beautiful song that sounded like it came from the celestial realm echoed. This song was beautiful like the sound of nature. As the song echoed, large amounts of auspicious clouds gathered. Dense celestial spiritual energy filled the area, making this place look like a celestial realm. A few cranes flew in the air, and let out cries that entered one's ears and seeped into one's heart. From afar, with the countless celestial palaces in the Thunder Celestial Temple, this place looked no different from the real celestial realm. The surrounding cultivators all stood up under the lead of their family's ancestor. Their expressions were very respectful. From afar, they looked like a densely packed group. Not only them, but even the old monsters on the praying mats all stood up with serious expressions. In addition to this, the messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple appeared one by one. They stood outside the square with respectful expressions. At this moment, not only was the Thunder Celestial Temple like this, but the entire Luotian star system was being used by the Thunder Celestial Temple to send out this scene. Almost all the cultivators on the cultivation planets and cultivation families were looking at the sky. Every cultivation planet had a voice transmission stone from the Thunder Celestial Temple. Not only could the Thunder Celestial Temple's voice transmission stone transmit sound, but it could also show the scene of the celestial bestowment. This voice transmission stone was given out by the Thunder Celestial Temple for free. Aside from the celestial bestowment, it was also to mobilize everyone for the decisive battle against the Alliance. At this moment, almost all the cultivators in the Luo-Tian star system saw the magnificent event of the celestial bestowment through the voice transmission stone. The Thunder Celestial Temple was located at the center of the east, west, south, and north regions of the Luo-Tian star system. At this moment, outside the Thunder Celestial Temple's sphere of influence, killing intent filled the area. In the east, groups of cultivators gathered. At a glance, there were no less than 10,000 people. These cultivators all wore different clothes. They obviously came from different cultivation families. At this moment, they were all silent as they silently looked ahead. Before them stood a person wrapped in red armor. His white hair fluttered in the wind and his face was expressionless. In his hand was a voice transmission stone. At this moment, the scene of the celestial bestowment in the Thunder Celestial Temple was being displayed in the stars. The south was the same. Tens of thousands of cultivators sat among the stars. They were led by an old man holding a horsetail whisk as they stared at the stars. Both the west and north regions had large armies of cultivators like this. At this moment, in the Luo-Tian star system, the celestial bestowment of the Thunder Celestial Temple caught everyone's attention. At this moment, a crane flew over from the Thunder Celestial Temple with a piece of yellow silk in its mouth. It circled above Master Flamespark and let go of the yellow silk. Master Flamespark held the yellow silk in his hand. He shook the silk, and it immediately spread out in front of him. The yellow silk was emitting dense celestial energy. It was clearly a celestial treasure. There are a total of 110 of you. Originally, 2 of you should have stepped down, but in consideration of the hardships you have gone through, the heavens have given you a chance to survive. The strongest will be bestowed the title of Vice Thunder Celestial. The remaining 108 will be 36 Heaven Celestials and 72 Earth Celestials. After Master Flamespark spoke to this point, his gaze swept past the cultivators on the square and he shouted, "Su Mu, step forward." Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as he flew forward and clasped his hands. "Here." Master Flamespark's expression became serious and he said, "The heaven and earth have entered 3 trials, 1 line to the heavens test. Su Mu, you will be bestowed the title of Thunder Celestial in the Luo-Tian star system. You will lead an army of 3,000 cultivators to be the number 1 vanguard in my Luo-Tian star system." As Master Flamespark spoke, his right hand waved and a golden celestial brush appeared. He waved it and clearly wrote the first line of words on the yellow silk. "Thunder Celestial, Su Mu." The moment these 6 words were written, there was a flash of golden light and a roar came from within. These 6 words seemed to penetrate the yellow silk and flew out. They fused together and formed a tiger made of thunder. This tiger was 100 feet tall. After it appeared, it let out a violent roar and charged at Wang Lin. However, when it was 10 feet away from Wang Lin, it rapidly shrank until it was only a 3-inch flag. The image of the tiger was faintly discernible on the flag. "I'll bestow upon you the celestial treasure Heaven Tiger flag. With this flag, you may command the 3,000 Luo-Tian star system cultivators to form your own force." Master Flamespark's voice was like thunder as it spread out. Wang Lin accepted the Heaven Tiger flag. He took a deep breath and clasped his hands. "As you command." At this moment, Wang Lin's appearance was clearly seen by all the cultivators in the Luo-Tian star system through the sound transmission stone. A storm was set off across the entire Luo-Tian star system. "He is Su Mu." Master Demon Su-Mu, genuine Thunder Celestial. This person has surpassed the 108 immortals, so his cultivation is definitely shocking. He is definitely not someone to be trifled with. On planet Ran-Yun, a beautiful female cultivator looked at the celestial bestowment in the sky. Originally, she didn't care and was about to withdraw her gaze to cultivate. However, she was suddenly startled. Her gaze fell on Wang Lin in the sky and she entered a trance. She vaguely felt that this person was very familiar, as if she had seen him somewhere before. Not only her, but all the cultivators on planet Ran-Yun were startled as they looked at Wang Lin in the sky. Monstrous waves crashed in their hearts, and they couldn't calm down for a long time. On planet Qingling, many cultivators also looked at the sky. However, at this moment, the older generation cultivators of their families all exclaimed, "Ancestor!" At the top of Hengyun Mountain, Xie Qing awakened from his cultivation. He looked at the sky with excitement in his eyes. He took a deep breath and muttered, "Teacher!" On a remote cultivation planet, Yao Bingyun was sitting on the tallest iceberg on the planet. She looked up at the sky and revealed an extremely complicated expression. "I didn't expect him to become a Thunder Celestial in the northern domain of the Luo Tian star system, on a semi-abandoned cultivation planet. A foul smell had been coming from it. However, the cultivators on the planet couldn't find the cause no matter what. At this moment, in a valley on the planet, the greedy wolf looked up at the sky with a fierce gaze. He actually reached such a height in the Luo Tian star system. At this moment, all the cultivators in the Luo Tian star system that knew Wang Lin stared at the sky with shock in their eyes. Inside the Thunder Celestial Temple, Master Flamespark shouted, "Su Ting, step forward." Su Ting took a deep breath and immediately stepped forward to respectfully stand. "I grant you the title of Vice Thunder Celestial. You will lead an army of 2,000 cultivators and be the second vanguard of my Luo Tian star system." Although Su Ting was unwilling, he had to yield. After pondering for a bit, he respectfully said, "As you command." After that, with Master Flamespark's roars, the 108 Celestials all received their titles. Each of them obtained a spirit flag, and became a Celestial. Thunder Celestial, Vice Thunder Celestial, 36 Heaven Celestials, enter the Celestial Pool. Master Flamespark waved his sleeves and the yellow silk disappeared. Auspicious clouds churned in the sky. After they condensed, they formed a cloud pool that slowly descended from the sky. Inside the cloud pool, there were green ripples moving, emitting an aura that caused one's heart to tremble. Master Flamespark's voice echoed across the world. "Enter the Thunder Pool and lose your domain. Let your heavenly origin energy fuse with your celestial origin energy and become a true celestial." Chapter 880. Celestials didn't cultivate domains and true celestials didn't have comprehension. Wang Lin knew this. Ripples appeared in the celestial pool and celestial spiritual energy spread out. The surrounding cultivators all silently pondered. There were pros and cons to entering the celestial pool. To enter or not to enter was a difficult choice in everyone's hearts. Master Flamespark didn't force them but calmly looked at the junior cultivators before him. Not only him, but all the surrounding cultivators and messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple all looked over. Similarly, all the cultivators in the Luo Tian star system looked over. It was as if the entire Luo Tian star system had become silent. All the cultivators on the planets were silent. This was a difficult choice. No one could say which was right and which was wrong. It could only be said that there were two paths. One was the path of celestial cultivation, and the other was the path of Tao cultivation. Who could say which was stronger and which was weaker until the end? In ancient times, the ancient cultivators pursued immortality and entered the celestial pool. It was a great honor to change the origin energy in their body into celestial origin energy and become a true celestial. This was the ultimate pursuit of the ancient Shi practitioners. No comprehension, no comprehension. The increase in cultivation depended on heavenly treasures, celestial pills, and celestial origin energy. After the collapse of the celestial realm, the new cultivators no longer pursued immortality because the celestial realm no longer existed. What they cultivated was Tao. Because they cultivated Tao, they gained comprehension. Comprehension, enlightenment, and enlightenment were all inseparable from the word comprehension. The key to cultivation was comprehension. Comprehend the heavens, Tao, obey or resist. If there was no comprehension, it would be very difficult to increase one's cultivation level. At this moment, before the 110 cultivators, including Wang Lin, were these two different paths. They could either choose the ancient path or choose the present. Shimizu looked at Wang Lin calmly. He hoped that Wang Lin would be able to enter the lightning pool, dispel his intent, and become a true immortal, a true disciple of his master, Bai Fan. Su Ting pondered a bit and looked at Wang Lin. He clenched his teeth and walked toward the celestial ascension pool. He had always been arrogant and never placed anyone in his eyes. Ever since he left planet Donglin, he had never met a worthy opponent. However, in the celestial competition of the Thunder Celestial Temple, they had been repeatedly defeated by Wang Lin. They had even been completely defeated and killed in the line to heaven. This was something he couldn't accept. But similarly, Su Ting had a trace of admiration towards Wang Lin in his heart. But this admiration, compared to the unwillingness in his heart, was really insignificant. He understood that if this were to continue for a long time, it would be very difficult for him to completely suppress Wang Lin. He had to take an unconventional approach, and he had to make a qualitative leap. Therefore, he resolutely gave up his intent and chose the path of celestial ascension. After entering the celestial ascension pool, Su Ting immediately felt an unbearable pain coming from his body. The pool water seemed to be boiling and continued to drill into his body. Beads of sweat the size of beans appeared on Su Ting's forehead. This intense pain almost made him faint. It was as if a knife was cutting his flesh and bones, pulling out his marrow. It was rapidly absorbing the state that he had cultivated for 1,000 years. A large amount of celestial spiritual energy entered his body and fused with his origin energy. It formed a force he had never felt before and gathered around his body. In just 15 minutes, Su Ting let out a roar. His hair moved without any wind and popping sounds came from his body. A powerful celestial spiritual energy erupted from his body. His current strength was actually a notch higher than before. Su Ting's eyes were like lightning, and an extremely comfortable feeling surged throughout his body. He clenched his fists, as if he had mastered the power of heaven and earth. The celestial arts that he had learned previously flashed through his mind, and he had a feeling that he could use them freely and completely control them. Su Mu, one day we will have to fight again. Su Ting walked out of the celestial pool. His eyes were like torches as he looked at Wang Lin before withdrawing his gaze. Su Ting's performance made the hesitant people even more determined. After him, more people stepped into the celestial ascension pool. After letting out cries of pain, their cultivations increased greatly and their celestial spiritual energy filled the sky. They slowly walked out of the celestial ascension pool. Every single person that walked out had a look of pleasant surprise on their faces. The feeling of being able to control their celestial arts made it so that they did not regret choosing this path. Wang Lin calmly looked at the celestial pool. His heart was very complicated. He had seen the third step and knew that Celestial Emperor Bai Fan had gone crazy. All of this was filled with mysteries. Cultivation was not simple. From his point of view, he couldn't tell if this path was right or wrong. It was just that he didn't want to choose it. Most importantly, from Wang Lin's point of view, none of the old monsters on the praying mats even looked at the celestial pool. This made Wang Lin's choice even more certain. the Thunder Celestial, Vice Thunder Celestial, and 36 Heaven Celestials. In the end, 17 people chose to enter the celestial pool. Aside from Wang Lin, Nangong Han, Xingong Hu, Zhang Konglai, and a dozen others didn't choose this path. This is your own choice. Don't regret it in the future. Master Flamespark's gaze swept past everyone. He raised his right hand and pointed forward. The celestial pool rumbled as it floated into the sky and disappeared. Please give me the celestial bestowal stone. Master Flamespark let out a roar and his expression was extremely respectful. After he spoke, the clouds in the sky churned and turned into cloud dragons that circled around. Bursts of shocking pressure descended from the sky and shrouded the area. All the cultivators in the Luo Tian star system stared intently at this. A moment later, one of the dragons descended from the sky and spat out a mountain rock. This mountain rock was only 5 feet wide, but when it landed, it caused the entire Thunder Celestial Temple to tremble. The powerful celestial spiritual energy swept away the peace and spread out like crazy with a hint of tyranny. Thunder Celestial, Vice Thunder Celestial, 36 Heaven Celestials, I give you the opportunity to carve your names on the celestial bestowal stone. Su Ting's eyes lit up and he stepped forward. He arrived next to the celestial bestowal stone and stared at it. When he looked at it, he was startled. He saw that there were countless names carved on the celestial bestowal stone. Each name gave off a powerful aura, and many of them were famous cultivators in the Luo Tian star system. As a result, his desire to carve his name became even stronger. He raised his right hand to find a blank spot and mercilessly swiped. There was a flash of green light and a powerful force entered Su Ting's body, forcing him back. Su Ting sneered and activated all the celestial origin energy in his body. Black gas appeared between his eyebrows and a portion of it went into his finger. Then he mercilessly carved on the celestial bestowal stone. He barely managed to carve his name. He retreated a few steps and his face was pale. Wang Lin looked at Su Ting. He saw that the reason Su Ting was collapsing was because a small portion of his origin soul had been absorbed by the celestial bestowal stone. He immediately became vigilant. Master Flamespark nodded. Those that could carve their names on the celestial bestowal stone all had amazing cultivation. He was very satisfied with Su Ting. He knew that Su Ting would definitely shine in the battle against the Alliance star system. After Su Ting, the 36 Heaven Celestials stepped forward. However, aside from Nangong Han, the six-fingered cultivator, and the big-headed boy, no one else was able to carve their name. Wang Lin was the last person. His eyes were calm as he slowly walked toward the celestial bestowal stone. He looked at the names on it and silently pondered. Wang Lin was a cautious person. There were many reasons why he didn't choose to enter the celestial pool. The celestial bestowal stone before him made him ponder. His pondering caused the gazes of the surrounding cultivators to gather. Wang Lin's performance was very eye-catching. He hadn't even entered the celestial pool, but he had already caused a lot of discussion. Now that he was silently standing before the celestial bestowal stone, it caused the surrounding cultivators to speculate. Not only them, but all the cultivators in the Luo Tian star system who saw this through a voice transmission stone carefully watched. They wanted to know if Su Mu would give up. If he didn't give up, would he be able to leave his name on the celestial bestowal stone? Even though most of them didn't know the legend and origin of the celestial bestowal stone. While pondering, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He raised his right hand and pressed his index finger on the celestial bestowal stone. The next moment, he felt a powerful force push his hand away. After frowning slightly, Wang Lin activated his origin energy and his index finger pressed down once more. This time the rebound force was even stronger, but the moment it landed on Wang Lin's finger, he immediately used his origin energy to resist it. As a result, as Wang Lin moved his index finger, the rebound force became even stronger. In the end, there was a series of popping sounds as if the stone was going to collapse. Bursts of blinding light came from the stone. When Wang Lin's finger moved one last time, he felt a part of his origin soul split off and rush toward his right finger. However, just as his origin soul was about to enter the celestial bestowal stone, Wang Lin suddenly raised his right hand. He borrowed the force from the celestial bestowal stone to retreat a few steps before stopping. Master Flamespark's eyes narrowed and he meaningfully looked at Wang Lin. He naturally saw that Wang Lin's origin soul hadn't entered the celestial bestowal stone. Even the name carved on it wasn't Wang Lin or Su Mu, but Master Demon. This Su Mu is indeed worthy of coming from the Alliance star system. He is not greedy but cautious. Master Flamespark withdrew his gaze. Now this is the last reward for the Thunder Celestial, Deputy Thunder Celestial, and the 36 Heaven Celestials. Each of you 38 can make a request. The Thunder Celestial Temple, the Xiang family, and the Gongsun family will do our best to help you achieve it. However, if anyone deliberately makes it difficult, the reward will be cancelled. Wang Lin trembled violently. He took a deep breath and forced his rapidly beating heart to calm down. His eyes shined brightly like never before. He had come to the Thunder Celestial Temple to participate in the celestial bestowal ceremony for this last reward. Last week's recommendation was 39,000, only 1,000 away from 40,000. This week, the target was still 40,000. Fellow cultivators, let us charge together. Chapter 881. Wang Lin didn't reveal his intense emotions. He calmed down a bit and his eyes gradually became calm. However, behind this calmness, there was a fire burning in his heart. He didn't step forward first but waited for people to state their requests before he slowly stepped forward. He clasped his hands at Master Flamespark and respectfully said, "Junior has a request." Master Flamespark looked at Wang Lin and calmly said, "Su Mu, state your request." Junior's request is for a broken nascent soul that is in deep sleep to reform its body and awaken. Wang Lin said in a serious tone. His expression didn't change at all, but his heart pounded as if it was going to jump out of his chest. Master Flamespark's eyes narrowed and he pondered a bit. He looked at Old Man Xiang and said, "This request is not difficult. The Xiang family has a spell called the Soul Connection Spell. This spell is said to have endless uses and should be able to meet your request. Fellow cultivator Xiang, what do you think?" Old Man Xiang faintly smiled. He admired Wang Lin a lot. When he heard this, he smiled and said, "I presume Su Mu, the nascent soul you speak of, must have suffered a serious injury after its body was destroyed. This matter is not difficult. First, take out the nascent soul and let the old man check it." Wang Lin silently pondered. Li Muwen was extremely important to him and irreplaceable. She was someone he had to protect in his life. At this moment, he hesitated a bit before slapping his bag of holding. A ball of soft light flew out. During the first 3 days of cultivation at the Thunder Celestial Temple, Wang Lin had already taken out Li Muwen's nascent soul from the heaven-defying bead without anyone noticing. He carefully sealed it with the Annihilation Restriction Heart so that the nascent soul wouldn't dissipate. All of this was for this moment. Holding the sphere of light in his right hand, Wang Lin touched it with his left hand. Immediately, the sphere of light bloomed like a flower and split into pieces, revealing a cross-legged nascent soul. That nascent soul was none other than Li Muwen. Her face was pale white as she sat there cross-legged. She radiated a sense of weakness, as if the slightest gust of wind would cause her to vanish and vanish forever. Li Muwen was surrounded by a fluorescent glow that made her seem holy and pure, as if she were a celestial maiden from the immortal world who had descended into the mortal world to land in Wang Lin's hands. Even though Li Muwen was in a deep sleep and had never woken up, people could still vaguely feel her gentleness and kindness with her eyes closed. Her appearance was very graceful. She did not have Lu Mei's peerless beauty, nor did she have Red Butterfly's arrogance. However, in Wang Lin's heart, all these were nothing. Li Muwen was in his arms. Back then, her hair had turned white, and the clouds and mud had changed. In an instant, everything changed. In the blink of an eye, everything turned to ashes, leaving only one sentence that forever echoed in Wang Lin's heart. Even if the heavens want you to die, I'll take you back. For this sentence, Wang Lin came to the Luo Tian temple. For this sentence, he stood before the Thunder Celestial Temple. The moment Wang Lin took out Li Muwen's nascent soul, Shi Zifeng, who had been staring at Wang Lin, collapsed. Her face was pale and her body trembled. It was as if she could hear the sound of her own heart breaking. So, the reason he went through all these tests to get first place was because of this woman. Tears flowed down from the corner of Shi Zifeng's eyes. She stared at the nascent soul in Wang Lin's hand, and a wave of heartache filled her with bitterness. To be able to let her lover do this. Although this woman's nascent soul is damaged and has fallen asleep, this is still a blessing. Shimizu looked at Wang Lin and the nascent soul in his hand. His eyes revealed a hint of melancholy. Many, many years ago, he also had a woman that he had to protect for a lifetime. However, Shimizu's eyes were filled with pain. Old man Xiang looked at Li Muwen's nascent soul and his smile immediately froze. His eyes shined brightly as he stared at Li Muwen's nascent soul. He slowly frowned and asked, "How long has this nascent soul been asleep?" Wang Lin took a deep breath. At this moment, his 1,000 years of cultivation seemed extremely fragile. He suppressed his trembling mind and softly said, "Nearly 700 years." Old man Xiang nodded slightly and said, "It seems you put in a lot of effort to preserve your nascent soul for 700 years. However, 700 years was too long. How can a nascent soul cultivator survive for 700 years? Not to mention, without a physical body, only a nascent soul. Most importantly, this nascent soul is on the verge of death. Sumu, change your request." Old man Xiang sighed. He wanted to help Sumu, so he gave him the option of changing his request. Old man Xiang's voice was like a sharp needle that pierced Wang Lin's heart. The pain was indescribable. It was as if the world was collapsing in front of him. The only thing left was a desolate echo, as if everything was no longer there. This pain caused the vitality in Wang Lin's body to show signs of extinguishing in an instant. The only thing he could hear was old man Xiang's voice. Each word was like the rumbling of thunder, echoing over and over again. "Is there really no way?" Wang Lin's eyes were filled with extreme sorrow as he looked at Li Muwen. Old man Xiang let out a long sigh and carefully looked at Li Muwen's nascent soul again. He shook his head and said, "If old man's guess is correct, this woman's nascent soul was extracted by you using a special method when her lifespan came to an end. You nourished it, but at the critical moment when the nourishment was about to succeed, something unexpected happened. This woman's nascent soul was unable to withstand it. Although you have preserved it until now, the truth is that she is already on the verge of death. With my strength, I cannot help you. She is someone who should have died. Forcefully keeping her alive is a painful thing for both you and her. The only thing I can help you with is to send her into the cycle of reincarnation." Wang Lin's body swayed and he took a few steps back. His face was extremely pale and he coughed up a mouthful of mind blood. With a bitter smile, he looked at Li Muwen's nascent soul. Scenes of Li Muwen flashed before his eyes. The pain of his heart filled his entire body. This pain was bone-piercing and unforgettable. 2 streams of tears flowed down from Wang Lin's eyes. The number of times he had shed tears in his life could be counted on one hand, but this time, he was crying. As he looked at Li Muwen, an unyielding flame ignited in Wang Lin's heart. "Even if the heavens want you to die, I will take you back. Wan Er, this is my promise to you." Wang Lin lifted his right hand and took hold of Li Muan's nascent soul. The seal around it immediately shrank until it was once again a small ball. Old man Xiang was silent. After a long time, he suddenly said, "It's not like there is no way at all." Wang Lin's body trembled as tens of thousands of thunderous booms filled his mind. At this moment, all of the power in his body entered his eyes and focused on old man Xiang. However, the price of this method is too great. The main reason this woman cannot survive is because her lifespan is insufficient. If we can make up for her lifespan, perhaps she will have a chance to live. However, this divine ability is called the Qixi art. The old man cannot use it. Only the ancestor of the Xiang clan who is in seclusion can use it. Sumu, I have to remind you that to use this Qixi divine ability, you need the life force of someone who is extremely close to the woman. Only then will there be no rejection. However, the life force of the person who provides the life force will be reduced, and this reduction will not be the same. It's very possible that you will need to use 90% of your life force for the woman to have a slight chance of recovering. However, it will only be a small amount. If you don't succeed, you will not be able to recover your lifespan. Think about it carefully. If you agree, the old man can ask the ancestor to help you once. The surroundings were silent. Old man Xiang's voice echoed throughout the world and landed in everyone's ears. At this moment, all the cultivators in the Luo Tian star system heard his words. To sacrifice a large portion of one's life force for an uncertain chance for a woman, was it worth it or not? This was the question in the hearts of all the cultivators who heard this. Old man Xiang really admired Wang Lin. He said these words in front of all the cultivators in the Luo Tian star system without any selfishness or malice. I agree, Wang Lin said slowly as he looked at the restriction ball in his hand. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the restriction ball and land on Li Muan's body. His voice was a bit hoarse, and his gaze seemed to fuse with the restriction ball. A sense of sadness filled Li Muan's heart. Li Muan seemed to hear this voice. Her nascent soul trembled and tried to open its eyes, but it didn't have any strength. All that was left was endless exhaustion and sadness. Wang Lin knew that the so-called lifespan actually came from vitality. The stronger the vitality, the longer the lifespan. When a cultivator's cultivation level increased, their vitality would also increase. This way, the higher their cultivation level, the longer their lifespan would be. Old man Xiang nodded and said, "Since you agree, then once this celestial bestowal is over, come with me to planet Donglin." The reminiscence in Shimizu's eyes was still there. At this moment, there was a hint of melancholy in his eyes as he calmly said, "Su Mu, I'll go with you." Wang Lin looked at Shimizu with gratitude in his eyes and nodded. He knew that Shimizu was worried that something would happen to him on planet Donglin. Shimizu wanted to go with him to ensure that everything went smoothly. After this, the rest of the people also made their requests. It was worth mentioning that Su Ting and Nangong Han's requests were the same. They both wanted to enter the Thunder Celestial Temple's hidden celestial pavilion to learn celestial spells. Once all 36 heaven celestials obtained their requests, the celestial bestowal ended. The moment it ended, Master Flamespark's laughter echoed. He floated up from the praying mat and his robe fluttered. His eyes shined brightly and he shouted, "Fellow cultivators, help me open the passage to the Alliance. The war is about to begin." Chapter 882. Master Flamespark floated in the air, and his hand formed a seal. Rays of black light came out from his forehead. The moment these rays of black light appeared, they quickly grew and turned into fragments of continents. Dozens of celestial fragments gathered in the sky. They covered the sky and formed an unimaginable pressure. All the cultivators in the Thunder Celestial Temple raised their heads and activated their cultivation to resist. At a glance, the sky seemed to be divided into pieces. Strands of light came from the intersection of the fragments and landed on the earth. This scene was seen by all the cultivators in the Luotian star system. Their minds trembled and their blood surged. Master Flamespark's eyes revealed the hatred he had hidden for tens of thousands of years. He took a deep breath and opened his arms. A thunderous rumble came from the sky. This sound was extremely violent and caused the world to change colors. Countless fragments spread across the sky. At this moment, as Master Flamespark's arms moved, the fragments began to rotate. At first, they were slow, but a moment later, they became faster and faster. Bursts of whistling sounds echoed across the world, and even spread far away. This sound penetrated the Thunder Celestial Temple, and could be heard from all four directions. As these fragments rotated around the center, a vortex suddenly appeared in the sky. This vortex was extremely powerful, and it turned into a storm. As it rumbled and howled, it set off an earth-shattering feat. The clouds in the sky dissipated like crazy, as if they were being torn apart by a pair of giant hands, revealing the clear sky. The vortex formed by the rotating fragments was extremely bright and continued to expand. In the end, the entire sky above the Thunder Celestial Temple was covered by the vortex. This vortex contained an unimaginable power. This power could instantly kill a Nirvana Scryer cultivator. Even a Nirvana Cleanser cultivator wouldn't last long inside it. As time passed, this power became even stronger and continued to gather in the depths of the vortex. At this moment, an earth-shattering sound suddenly echoed. This sound was like the heartbeat of a cultivator. Every time it appeared, the hearts of the cultivators of the Thunder Celestial Temple would tremble violently. It was as if a sledgehammer had landed on their chests. They weren't the only ones like this. At this moment, all the cultivators in the Luotian star system vaguely heard this sound. Every time the sound reverberated, endless ripples would be set off in the sky and spread in all directions. As the vortex grew larger and larger, the banging sounds that came from it became even more intense and indescribable. It was as if it could be compared to thunder. This sound was the powerful force that collided with the spatial barrier. Master Flamespark's white hair fluttered as he shouted, "Fellow cultivators, help me!" The eyes of the more than 10 old monsters on the praying mats lit up. Even Blood God's eyes lit up. They all flew into the vortex in the sky and used their spells. This caused the vortex's power to increase several-fold. The banging sounds became more and more intense, and the speed of the rotation had reached its limit. The powerful force fused with it was like a sharp awl, constantly stabbing at the void, trying to break through. Thunder Celestial Realm. Master Flamespark's hands formed a seal, and he let out a roar. Thunder beasts appeared on the dozens of rapidly rotating fragments. They let out thunderous roars as they charged at the center of the vortex. Boom! The sky trembled and the vortex rotated violently. It expanded even more and filled the stars. A cold aura came from the vortex and gave off an endless chill. The surrounding old monsters all formed seals. Liyunzi's eyes lit up and he charged out. His right finger gave off a white glow as he charged into the vortex and pressed down. There was a loud bang and the sound of a mirror shattering could be heard. Liyunzi's body trembled and his face turned pale as he retreated. Behind him, the Shengong family ancestor stepped out and slapped his forehead. A small flag flew out and turned into a ray of ghostly light that charged into the vortex. The sound of a mirror shattering echoed once more. Blood God's body was covered in a blood glow as he charged out and threw a punch at the depths of the vortex. This punch was blinding red and charged into the depths of the vortex. The Xiang family ancestor and the man from the Gongsun family stepped out one after the other. Behind them, the other old monsters all attacked. At this moment, the vortex in the sky expanded like crazy and the popping sounds became even more intense. In the end, Master Flamespark bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. It turned into a blood mist and fused with the world. Master Flamespark's eyes were bloodshot and he suddenly shouted, "Celestial Realms land, split the heavens and earth. Illusory figures appeared from the dozens of fragments that caused the vortex. These illusory figures were the souls of the fragments sealed by Master Flame's Park. After they appeared, they immediately fused with the vortex. In an instant, they formed an unimaginable force. What was even more terrifying was that this force contained a trace of G. This trace of G came from Celestial Lord Shimizu. The red lightning bolt, which contained the extreme boundary, pierced into the depths of the vortex under the powerful impact of the force. Boom! The entire Thunder Celestial Temple trembled, the sky changed colors, and the clouds scattered. All the cultivators in the Luotian star system saw a scene they would never forget from the sound transmission stones. They saw the vortex suddenly tremble and a small crack was forcibly torn open. The moment the crack appeared, it was ripped open like crazy. In an instant, it was more than 100 feet long. It was like a shocking scar. Black whirlwinds moved at the edge of the crack, and a large amount of cold air spewed out. As the whirlwinds moved, the crack was rapidly closing. It wasn't easy for him to open a crack in the spatial barrier, so how could Master Flame's Park let it close again? He had waited for this day for far too long. At this moment, his eyes were bloodshot and his face revealed a ferocious expression. His right hand formed a seal, he pointed forward and he shouted, "Support the heavens." Within the vortex, one of the fragments instantly shrank, and in an instant, it approached the crack at an extremely fast speed. Once it arrived, the fragment instantly enlarged, and as loud rumbling sounds rang out, it stuck close to the crack. It was as if someone had put a patch on it, and it stubbornly held on. However, the crack in the spatial barrier contained a power that cultivators couldn't resist. As the fragment held on, it was crushed and completely collapsed. However, its collapse had bought them a crucial opportunity. At the instant it collapsed, even more fragments of the continent rushed into the crack. As they continued to solidify and support the crack, it was slowly becoming impossible for the crack to close. Not only that, as more fragments rushed in, the crack was ruthlessly torn open. This tear was more than 1,000 feet wide. At this moment, the cultivators of the Thunder Celestial Temple were all excited. Not only them, but a majority of the cultivators in the Luotian star system that saw this all stood up. A killing intent immediately filled the Luotian star system. Outside the Thunder Celestial Temple, the densely packed army of cultivators all stood up and stared at the 1,000-foot rift in front of them. An aura that didn't belong to the Luotian but was very familiar to Wang Lin came from the crack. This aura was the aura of the Alliance star system. There was even a bright star system that appeared inside the crack. Wang Lin was very familiar with this star system. However, just at this moment a roar came from the crack. This roar was extremely powerful and formed a shockwave. It was as if it was an angry roar from ancient times. A huge arm stretched out from the crack and grabbed one of the fragments. It squeezed it hard, and with a bang, the fragment shattered. "It's not an ancient god." Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. He didn't feel the aura of an ancient god from the giant hand. The giant hand didn't stop. It reached out and grabbed the two sides of the crack. It was about to close the 1,000-foot crack once more. However, just at this moment, a blurry figure silently appeared outside the vortex. The appearance of this figure was extremely strange. It was as if it had forcibly squeezed itself into the gazes of the surrounding cultivators. When Wang Lin saw this figure, his mind trembled violently. His pupils suddenly shrank. Not only him, but even Qing Shui's eyes flashed with a cold light. The figure that suddenly appeared was the person who stopped the battle between Shimizu and Blood God. He strangely appeared and mercilessly pointed with his right hand. A powerful surge of source energy came from his finger. When this finger landed in Wang Lin's eyes, he was terrified. It was as if everything in the world had stopped at this moment. The only thing that moved was the finger of the illusory figure. The fingertip landed on the giant hand that came out from the crack. The giant hand immediately collapsed and returned to its source. You opened the spatial barrier and violated the rules set by the ancient celestial realm. A mighty voice came from the crack like crazy, but it went further and further until it disappeared. The old man wants to see if the ancient celestial realm exists or not. The voice of the illusory figure was calm, but it contained the majesty of a supreme being. Alliance Star System. Wang Lin looked at the vaguely familiar space inside the giant crack and pondered. He had left Suzaku for a very, very long time. In response to everyone's call, there would be 4 more updates tomorrow. If he was tired, then so be it. Chapter 883. The moment the passage to the Alliance star system opened, the rift was ripped open and expanded infinitely. In an instant, it covered a large area. At this moment, all the cultivators in the Luotian star system stared at it. Greedy gazes gathered from all the cultivation planets in the Luotian star system. It was as if they could directly enter the Alliance star system through the sound transmission stones. The Battle of the Luotian Alliance begins. Master Flamespark's laughter echoed across the world. This caused a cheer to spread across the entire Luotian star system. Master Flamespark's voice suddenly echoed, "The 4 great cultivation armies of the East, West, North, and South slaughter your way into the Alliance star system. You have 3 days to each take 3 cultivation planets as the foundation of my Luotian star system." As the voice echoed, the tens of thousands of cultivators in the eastern region flew out like meteors toward the rift in the sky. The armored man looked up, and the tens of thousands of cultivators in the eastern region flew out like meteors toward the rift. With a powerful killing intent, he turned into a meteor and entered the Alliance star system. In the northern region, tens of thousands of cultivators also followed. The cultivator armies in the western and southern regions followed closely behind. At this moment, rays of sword energy charged into the Alliance star system like thunder. Thunder Celestial, Vice Thunder Celestial, 108 Celestials, hold your flags and enter the Alliance. The 108 Celestials in the Thunder Celestial Temple charged into the rift in the sky. Powerful killing intent immediately filled the area. Kill! It was unknown who shouted, but the battle intent of the surrounding cultivators reached a peak. Luotian star system, open the transfer array. As Master Flamespark's voice echoed, the transfer stones on all the cultivation planets in the Luotian star system collapsed and formed a giant transfer array on each planet. The cultivators were led by their family elders into the transfer array. When they reappeared, they were next to the rift in the Thunder Celestial Temple. The moment they appeared, they all charged into the rift. Their eyes were filled with greed. As more and more cultivators entered the Alliance star system, the beginning of a calamity was about to begin. As Master Flamespark laughed, he stepped into the rift and stepped into the Alliance star system. The moment his feet landed, his eyes were filled with monstrous hatred. Zhong Xianzi, the old man is back. In the western region of the Alliance star system, there was a 10,000-foot crack that gave off an endless chill. Luotian cultivators charged out and filled the starry sky. This was a true battle between 2 star fields. There was no distinction between good and evil. In the distance, an army of cultivators from the Alliance star system passed by. They had just applied to become a Rank 6 cultivation country and were about to go to the cultivation planet designated by the Alliance to build their own Rank 6 cultivation country. The scene before them caused the expressions of all the Alliance star system cultivators to change greatly. Scatter, retreat to the profound Thunder Star. The leader was a middle-aged man. He didn't hesitate to let out a gloomy roar before quickly retreating. Although the expressions of the Alliance star system cultivators changed, their eyes were still gloomy and didn't reveal any signs of panic. This was the fundamental difference between the Alliance cultivators and the Luotian cultivators. Killing was simply too common in the Alliance star system. Any cultivator that could survive here and reach a certain level of cultivation was a cunning old fox. Which one of them wasn't scheming? At this moment, their eyes were gloomy, but they were calm. Without the middle-aged man's order, they all stopped and quickly scattered. They didn't care about each other's life or death. There were even some cultivators whose eyes lit up as they escaped. They wanted to attract some pursuers so they could kill them and steal their treasures. All kinds of sinister thoughts flashed through their mind. The Luo Tian cultivators hadn't regrouped yet, so some cultivators noticed this. Some cultivators quickly chased after them. One of the Luo Tian cultivators immediately used a spell while chasing. The Alliance cultivator immediately coughed out a large mouthful of blood, and his body weakened. Even his speed slowed down and his eyes were filled with despair. The Luo Tian cultivator laughed as he closed in on the Alliance cultivator. However, just as he closed in, the despair in the Alliance cultivator's eyes disappeared. He sneered and counterattacked. Popping sounds echoed in the air, followed by a miserable groan. In the end, the Alliance cultivator grabbed a bag of holding and quickly flew off into the distance. Behind him, the Luo Tian cultivator's body collapsed and dissipated. This scene was repeated by the other pursuers. Wang Lin watched the cultivators step into the rift one by one, but he didn't move. The old man named Xiang looked at the rift and revealed a hint of coldness in his eyes. His body flickered and he landed on the rock. He said to Wang Lin, "Su Mu, come with me. I presume that with your personality, you won't participate in the first batch to enter." With that, a cloud appeared under his feet and he flew off into the distance. Wang Lin's expression was calm. Even if the matter with Li Muan hadn't happened, he wouldn't have chosen to be the first to enter the Alliance star system. During the war between the two star systems, he had to be cautious. He looked back at Shimizu and Shimizu stood up. With one step, he closed in on Wang Lin. He grabbed Wang Lin's body and chased after the old man named Xiang. When Li Yunzi saw this from the sky, he hesitated for a moment before his gaze returned to the rift. The old man named Xiang's cultivation level was high, so he was naturally very fast. In just a few steps, he left the Thunder Celestial Temple and charged toward the eastern domain of the Luo Tian. Shimizu casually followed behind him. Beside him was Wang Lin. There was a black wind around his body, so his speed wasn't slow at all. "Su Mu, it has not been easy for you to cultivate until now. You have to think about whether or not all of this is worth it. Besides, the old man isn't sure if my Xiang family's ancestor will agree to help you. You have to be mentally prepared." Along the way, the old man named Xiang didn't speak. It wasn't until they got close to planet Donglin that he slowly spoke. Wang Lin calmly said, "Senior understands." After the old man named Xiang heard this, he no longer spoke. Planet Donglin was extremely mysterious in the Luo Tian star system. This planet didn't have a fixed location and slowly moved through the eastern domain of the Luo Tian star system. As the old man named Xiang flew, he would occasionally take out a red jade as if he was looking for a direction. On this day, under the guidance of the old man named Xiang, Wang Lin saw a shocking cultivation planet in the distance. This planet was very large. It was even larger than planet Tianyun. There were many craters on the planet that gave off a dark yellow color. From afar, a powerful pressure seemed to come crashing down on them. This was planet Donglin. Around this planet were dozens of smaller cultivation planets that slowly rotated around it. There would occasionally be flashes of light from formations on planet Donglin. It was obvious there were powerful restrictions on planet Donglin. If one didn't know how to enter, they would without a doubt die. The old man named Xiang's right hand formed a seal and pointed forward. One of the small cultivation planets around planet Donglin broke free and flew toward the old man named Xiang. The moment it got close, there was a flash of light and a transfer array appeared. "Celestial Lord Shimizu, Su Mu, follow me." As the old man named Xiang spoke, He stepped into the transfer array on the small cultivation planet. Shimizu and Sumu followed. The moment the three of them entered the transfer array, there was a flash of light and the three of them disappeared. When they reappeared, they were on planet Donglin. There was a gentle breeze that carried the smell of blood. The spiritual energy on planet Donglin was filled with a violent aura. Standing on planet Donglin, Wang Lin took a deep breath. The aura here was completely different from the other planets in the Luo Tian star system. The old man named Xiang didn't take Su Mu and Zhao Jioga to the family, but to the west. In the extreme west of planet Donglin was a graveyard that stretched for tens of thousands of kilometers. The soil on the ground was dark red and gave off a powerful smell of blood. There were broken limbs everywhere, causing vultures to circle in the sky. They would occasionally descend and tear off the rotten flesh. Their gloomy gazes were not afraid of people at all and were filled with coldness. The deeper they went, the fewer broken limbs there were. The graveyards were a mess and they were densely packed. Wang Lin's expression was calm, but he was shocked in his heart. He had cultivated the soul-refining sex cultivation method, so he was very sensitive to this death aura. With a glance, he found that there were countless souls here. Even when the 1 billion soul flag was at its peak, it couldn't compare to this place. If I absorb souls here, I can make the soul flag recover in an instant. Wang Lin looked around and silently pondered the entire way. The extreme west of planet Donglin is a forbidden area that outsiders aren't allowed to enter. This is where the only surviving ancestor of my Xiang family spends most of his time in closed-door cultivation. The old man named Xiang's voice was calm, but Wang Lin could feel that there was a sense of reverence in his voice toward the Xiang family ancestor. Shimizu frowned as he looked around and didn't speak. As they moved forward, the three of them gradually entered the depths of planet Donglin. The ground had turned from dark red to completely black. As far as the eye could see, it was a dark land without any signs of life. It was as if this place was the land of death. Life was completely suppressed here. Stepping here, Wang Lin immediately felt extremely weak. It was as if his vitality was being sucked away by the earth. If he stayed here for too long, his vitality might completely disappear. There were no buildings on the black earth. It was completely flat. However, there was an aura that made Wang Lin's heart tremble. It was as if there was an extreme death aura hidden under this earth. Xiang family member, Xiang Yundong, requests an audience with the ancestor. The old man named Xiang took a deep breath and spoke with a respectful expression. Chapter 884. The earth trembled and Wang Lin could clearly feel a fluctuation coming from deep underground. The trembling was caused by this fluctuation. These ripples were extremely powerful, and when they reached the ground, they caused the entire planet Donglin to shake violently. "What is it?" A calm voice echoed across the world, and an ancient aura spread out. It was as if this voice didn't come from underground, but from the ancient cultivation world from tens of thousands of years ago. Shimizu's right eye flashed red. He looked down at the earth before him, but his expression didn't change. The old man named Xiang respectfully said, "The battle between Luo Tian and the Alliance has begun. This person is ranked first in the celestial bestowal and has obtained a promise from the Xiang family. However, what he asked for is something Junior can't do with my strength. I hope the ancestor can use the Qixi spell once." The moment Xiang Yundong's words echoed, Wang Lin felt an unimaginable divine sense lock onto his body. He suppressed the thought of retreating and calmed himself down. To him, this divine sense was incredibly powerful. However, it couldn't completely penetrate his entire body. Within his third eye, the power of essence filled his entire body. The divine sense swept by and then withdrew. "Let him come down by himself." The ancient voice echoed in the air, and the ground before him trembled even more violently. A crack appeared on the ground, revealing a deep ravine. Xiang Yundong quickly nodded and turned to look at Wang Lin. He was originally only 50% confident. After all, the ancestor's temper was strange, and it was impossible to guess. Even though this was a promise from the Xiang family to the celestial bestowal, the ancestor didn't care about it. Now that the ancestor had agreed, Xiang Yundong faintly smiled and said, "Su Mu, you can go down. I'll wait for you here." Wang Lin nodded and looked at Shimizu. Shimizu's right eye flashed red and he calmly said, "If anyone dares to hurt you, all the families on planet Dong Lin will bleed." Although his voice was calm, the killing intent in it caused Xiang Yundong to frown. He bitterly smiled but didn't say anything. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with gratitude. In his life, there weren't many people he was grateful to. Situ, Zhou-Yi, Du Tian, and now there was Shimizu. Wang Lin took a deep breath and clasped his hands toward Shimizu and Xiang Yundong. Then he turned around and descended into the gully. This gully was very large. Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly as he continued to descend. The surrounding walls were smooth, but there was no life inside the gully. It was filled with death aura. As he descended, the death aura became thicker and thicker. In the end, it felt as if it could become corporeal. This made Wang Lin feel very uncomfortable. He was like a flame wrapped in a ball of chilly wind that could be extinguished at any time in the chilly wind. As Wang Lin descended, the death aura became more violent. Waves of coldness entered Wang Lin's body like crazy. If it was anyone else, their body would be stiff and their life force would be in danger. However, Wang Lin's first step of cultivation was the Tao of life and death. His early cultivation method was the underworld ascension art, so he was very familiar with death aura. At this moment, the origin power in his body was circulating, and the yin-yang twin fish avatar appeared outside his body. It slowly rotated, and with that, the dense death chi was pushed away in front of him, so that he wouldn't be injured too badly. The gully was very deep and seemed to have no end. Wang Lin descended quickly, but after enough time passed for half an incense stick to burn, he still hadn't reached the bottom. His expression was calm as he rotated the origin energy in his body and activated the Tao of Karma. After some time passed, the death aura grew thicker and thicker. Even the yin and yang fishes were affected and began to slow down. Finally, a tremor ran through his body, and his feet touched the ground. In front of him was a tunnel. It was pitch black, without any light. Even with the level of Wang Lin's cultivation base, he couldn't see very clearly. He could only make out a vague outline. "Come here." An ancient voice echoed out in the quiet tunnel, filled with a strange feeling. Wang Lin was silent for a moment. Then, his eyes filled with determination, he began to walk down the tunnel. The tunnel wasn't very long. After enough time passed for half an incense stick to burn, Wang Lin reached the end. What he saw caused his pupils to constrict. Heads. It was a dense and boundless sea of human heads. In front of the tunnel was an enormous space. From a distance, it looked like there was no end to it, only endless skulls and skeletons emitting an eerie aura. Everything in front of him was a sea of human heads. Even with Wang Lin's mental fortitude, his scalp went numb. He could not help but take 2 steps back, his face filled with astonishment. There were simply too many heads here, so many that it was impossible to count them all. Just looking at them would cause one's mind to tremble. The dense death aura had transformed into a tempest that filled the center of the sea of heads, whistling through the air. Under the impact of the death aura, Wang Lin immediately felt like he was suffocating. The astonishment in his eyes reached its peak at that instant. In the center of the sea of human heads, on a platform made of human heads, there was a yellow coffin. The wood of the coffin was slightly rotten. However, a berserk aura was being emitted from the coffin. "What is your name?" An ancient voice came from the coffin and echoed in the surroundings. Wang Lin took a deep breath and suppressed the shock in his mind. He clasped his hands respectfully and said, "Junior Su Mu greets Senior. So you're the one who wants the old man to use the Qishi art." The ancient voice didn't sound happy or angry, but it was filled with an oppressive aura. That's right. Wang Lin calmed his mind and said calmly. The old man can help you, but just the promise from the Xiang clan is not enough. I want half of your life force. The ancient voice turned into a divine sense, and the moment it spread out, it caused the surrounding death aura to become even denser. Even the countless human skulls in the sea of human skulls all moved when those words reverberated in the air. The eyes of the human skulls immediately lit up with a dark light. This scene was too strange. From Wang Lin's point of view, it was as if all the skulls in front of him had opened their eyes and possessed intelligence. Rays of ghostly light instantly gathered on his body. The moment these incalculable gazes landed on him, the life force in Wang Lin's body immediately collapsed and dissipated. Half of his black hair instantly turned as white as snow. Wang Lin's face instantly aged at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, he had turned into a middle-aged man. A feeling of weakness that he had never felt before appeared in Wang Lin's heart. His cultivation wasn't damaged, but this feeling of weakness lingered for a long time. Take out the person you want to save. The voice of the Xiang clan's ancestor echoed out. Wang Lin was silent for a moment, then he slapped his bag of holding. The sphere of light containing Li Muan's nascent soul flew out. However, just as the sphere of light was about to land on Wang Lin's palm, a domineering death aura swept up the sphere of light and shot toward the storm in the center. At this moment, Wang Lin forgot everything. He forgot about the unsurpassable gap between them. His eyes instantly turned red, and his third eye on his forehead flashed with a red light. What are you doing? Wang Lin let out a roar and charged toward the death aura surrounding Li Muan. A cold snort came from the coffin, and another wave of death aura wrapped around Wang Lin. At this moment, Wang Lin seemed to have gone mad. His third eye on his forehead opened without hesitation. A red light flashed out in the shape of a fan and landed on the death aura. The death aura immediately collapsed, and Wang Lin moved like lightning toward the sphere of light containing Li Muan. Noisy. The old man has taken half of your life force, so he knows how to use the Qi Shi technique. The ancient voice echoed, and Wang Lin had no choice but to stop. He stared at the coffin in front of him with a cold light in his eyes. Under the influence of the death aura, the sphere of light containing Li Muan collapsed with a bang. While Wang Lin was worried, Li Muan's nascent soul was not injured at all, and it calmly floated in the air. So it's a remnant nascent soul with no life force left in this world. No wonder she came here to beg the old man to use the Qi Shi technique. Wang Lin remained silent as he looked at the coffin in front of him. However, if the old man used the Qi Shi technique when he was at his peak, he would be able to recover this remnant nascent soul, or even awaken it. However, right now, the old man only has a 30% chance of success. As he spoke, the eyes of many of the heads in the sea of heads lit up. Suddenly, strands of death aura surrounded Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin did not resist. As the death aura surrounded him, strands of life force were extracted from his body. This life force was Wang Lin's lifespan. As the life force dissipated, Wang Lin's hair turned completely white and fell off in large amount. His body gradually withered and his skin became filled with wrinkles. His appearance rapidly aged from that of a middle-aged man. In just a few breaths of time, he had turned into an ancient old man. His appearance could still be vaguely seen from the past. Wang Lin's eyes dimmed, and the feeling of weakness increased several-fold. He could vaguely feel something calling out to him from the void. It was as if there was a force waving at him, wanting to take him away. After cultivating for 1,000 years, how could Wang Lin not understand what this force was? This was the reincarnation cycle of the heavenly Tao. He didn't have much lifespan left, and the reincarnation cycle of the heavenly Tao had already begun to call him. It was just like how Li Muan had died when her lifespan ran out. Today was the 4th watch, and there were still 2 chapters left. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.